What's up, guys, and welcome to the Energy Motto Podcast. This is a platform where we reveal the life lessons behind paradigm shifters in their field and explore the habits and mindsets that allow us to tap into our energy from within. Today, we present to you the expert behind the world's most well-known and trusted relationship book of all time, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. Throwing it back to the 90s, it was the #1 selling hardcover book during the decade. USA Today listed it at the top 10 most influential books of the last quarter century.
Due to his diversified array of wisdom and concepts ranging from optimal brain function to natural solutions for better sex, John Gray has been repeatedly invited to speak on top talk shows such as Oprah, Dr. Oz, Good Morning America, and plenty of others. His higher purpose is to create a world where men and women understand, respect, and appreciate their differences and ultimately work together.
We are truly humbled by John's expertise and we're mind blown by the following conversation. We covered so many things in the generous next 2 hours, which is a bit longer than our usual shows, but considering John's expertise, we feel very grateful to bring you this extended content.
And you'll find gems like practical tools to last longer in bed, how to become a master of your willpower, overcoming dopamine addiction and other taboos, and at times, controversial topics. But before we move on, however, we want to acknowledge that many of the topics mentioned may catch you a little off guard. Therefore, we invite all of you to empty your mind cups and enter with an open mind, absent of previous judgment and fixed opinions.
Because here at the Energy Motto, we're creating a free space for paradigm shifters, as we like to call them, where they may share their ideas freely. We trust that our audience is going to listen with an open heart and maybe be more open to new ways of thinking. We believe that it's important to explore unspoken topics that may be controversial because it propels humanity forward. This is why the following podcast is completely unedited and raw. So we hope you guys get a ton of value from this episode, and the #1 way to support us is to subscribe to this channel, leave a thoughtful comment, and share this with someone that'll resonate.
So, without further ado, we bring you the author, lecturer, and expert who sold over 50 million copies of books in 50 different languages, Dr. John Gray.
John Gray, it's a pleasure to have you on the podcast. How are you?
Hey, thanks so much. I'm very happy to be with you.
Thank you. We wanted to begin. There's so much things that we want to talk to you about today. Your work has been highly recognized amongst all the different generations. You're attracting different audiences from different ages. We're younger people. Obviously, these topics that you're talking about are very new to us, or really taboo in our culture. And we wanted to get down deep first into your story. So you have a very similar background as me. Your dad was an oil executive. Your mom was very into spirituality. They were teaching you yoga at 3 years old. You grew up in Houston. I lived a couple of years in Houston. But at 18, I'm 21 right now. At 18, you decided to go and be a monk and be a personal assistant to Maharishi Mahesh and the movement of transcendental meditation. How did you get into that? And what led your curiosity down that road?
Well, I'm a teenager. Back, it was a really transformational time to watch what's happened in the world. This before the internet. Life was totally different. I've imagined living without the internet. It was something. And at that time, it was the summer of love, and something happened. I became a hippie. I grew my hair out. Okay, so I had long hair. I was real cool. I wore beads, special kind of cool looking shirt, buckles, bell-bottom pants. The whole thing you see in the movies about the 60s. Yeah. And it was love, free love. Free sex, basically, after Woodstock, all the rock stars, everything, we all got very high, lots of sex. And, I grew in a generation where you didn't have sex before marriage. It was really ingrained in us. You have to have a marriage contract before you have sex. Mm-hmm. And suddenly it was like free sex. It was like breaking out and wearing, girls' haircut, girl, in a sense, became more feminine. So coming from a very traditional masculine Texas background, guys are guys, women are women.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly I stood out, but it was elevated. It was higher consciousness in order to shift gears into being both a guy and being in touch with my sensitivities, my femininity is what I explain now, my feminine energies. Meanwhile, the women were like, okay, suddenly this didn't last long, but they were like, okay, we can, we all know men want sex, so we want sex too. So we're free. And so women were like making themselves available, running after guys.
Okay.
It was a whole different thing. They cut back on that, by the way. But what their excitement was they formed women's groups to become like men. We're going to be CEOs. We're going to make money. We're no longer depending on men. We can do it ourselves. We've been oppressed. There was a switching of roles happening in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
It's very dramatic. And I think it's historical, very historical. And to live through that was quite amazing. Then what happened is new problems, okay, new challenges. I grew up with my dad, who was an oil executive, as your dad was. He had good manners. He went to Stanford University. They met at Stanford University in California. They're highly educated. He was successful. He had no relationship skills other than he learned as a good man, you don't get angry at your wife. That was it.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched. They never argued. They never fought. She never tries to change him because she was a happy woman. And why was she happy? Because she had her dream was to have 7 children. She's a very spiritual lady too, but she wanted 7 children. She ended up with 6 boys and 1 girl.
Wow.
And what was my father's job? They had a wonderful marriage, and my father's job was to make money so that she could have that life. And we had we lived in River Oaks, Houston, which is, do you know River Oaks in Houston?
No, I was in the Woodlands.
Okay, okay. So we're closer to the city and right next to it, actually on Gray Street. My name's John Gray, but my mother discovered River Oaks, first house built there, became the oil mecca. Basically, all the biggest mansions are there.
Yeah.
So I grew up thinking we were poor people because all the mansions, once people started making more money, they wanted bigger houses. But my dad, we had a humble life, a nice house, you would consider a very nice house, but compared to the mansions, I thought I was a poor person.
Everything is huge in Texas.
Yeah. So we have that. So anyway, so I'm growing up and I just talking about my parents' relationship. My father did what was expected of him in those days. Be a good provider. Don't get angry with your wife. And that was it. And also protect the wife from the children. 6 boys, she'd say, if you don't do what I say, you're going to talk to your father. And he'd pull out the whip. That's what they did in those days. You wouldn't have a belt. You got belted if you misbehaved. And she would use my dad. He was the protector. So he was the protector. He was the provider. And to a certain extent, he did a good job at that. And he never made my mother feel unsafe. So she was happy. She also was spiritual, so she had a source of happiness inside, but she had a relationship that provided her basic needs. That's the world that you've never seen. That's a different world where people had role mates. He did his role. If he did it well, and she did her role, and she did it well, they were both very happy people. Very happy people. Today, that doesn't work anymore. We're no longer role mates. What you're looking for, whether you know it or not, is a soulmate. Somebody who provides more than a woman in your category, as well as a man. He's looking for a level of emotional fulfillment. You want to be with a woman who's happy, who's sexually attracted to you, who wants you. That's what every man wants on an emotional level, where our emotional needs have become dominant. Women want to feel a man is emotionally available to her. So my work as a Mars Venus guy, when I started counseling people, that was listening to women and discovering that if they feel heard, just talking about their feelings, they feel better. Now that I didn't have many men come to me. A man comes to me, says, okay, what should I do? What should I do? If I just say, let's talk about your feelings, he goes, this is a waste of time.
Yeah, Mr. Fix-It.
Yeah, so I help men with strategies, but in the beginning, I help women by feeling heard. Not that women don't want strategies or need strategies, but to lower their stress, it's very important that their emotional needs be met first. And a man has emotional needs, and our emotional needs are to feel successful in solving problems. That increases testosterone. Whereas women, their emotional needs more have to do with producing estrogen. And estrogen is where you feel you can depend on someone. So if you need to talk, you're feeling I can depend on you, then they feel seen and heard, and that raises their estrogen levels. So we are animals, okay? We are animals that are ruled by an unconscious programming, which then elevates itself into conditioning, and that conditioning either to a great extent determines our behaviors, and our behaviors and the environment, the culture we're around needs to support us in being both masculine and feminine, because men need more testosterone. And you live in a generation, and not necessarily you, because you're out here doing your own thing, and I admire that for you. I want to support you.
Thank you
so much.
With you guys, this entrepreneur spirit in males is very, very important, because as a collective, if you just look at the research study, male testosterone has significantly dropped. It dropped a lot.
Yeah.
And
it's a crisis, would you say?
What's that?
Would you say it's a sort of crisis what men are living now in the emotional aspects? Or
Thank you for acknowledging that. We are going through a big crisis, more crisis than you can imagine, because you don't know where we came from. But the crisis we're in is what happens with lower testosterone in males is addiction. See what happens when you have low testosterone, then you have high estrogen. Now, what estrogen does is it makes you feel dependent, like I need you. Okay, I need something to make me happy. So if I have too much estrogen, I feel like I need too much ice cream. Okay, so anything that makes you feel good, enjoying, you love, it's peaceful, it's harmony, that's your estrogen side.
Yeah.
And anything has to do with discipline and strength and motivation, overcoming challenges, solving problems, that's your male side. Now we have both. But what's happened for the males, when testosterone goes low, estrogen comes too high, we become too soft. So I'll just share my experience. Right now I'm on number 8 day on a liquid fast.
Wow.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
My energy is off the chart. Okay. Just off the chart. I have so much energy.
You just dropped it out there like on an 8-day fast. Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, I have so much energy, and it takes willpower. Okay.
Yeah.
See, willpower is your masculine energy.
Mm-hmm.
So discipline. When you have some discipline, then I'll, when I eat again, boy, food will taste so good, and I'll eventually gain a few pounds. Usually I let myself gain about 6 pounds. I still look good, but then I'll go on a fast again. That's how I deal with it. But I deal with it not just for the health part of that, but it's a higher health. It bumps my testosterone up if I do something which requires discipline. You see, discipline means overcoming indulgence.
Yeah.
Overcoming and restraining yourself from doing things that just feel good, but in the end don't necessarily have a good consequence.
Just a quick question that might be misinterpreted. I understood it may be wrong, but that part of the not eating, does that also boost testosterone, or is it just the willpower and the resistance?
No, it's just the willpower. It's doing what's difficult with a smile on your face, not with a complaint. It's like, I'm the man. Look what I can do. Mm-hmm. See, anytime you working hard is masculine, vacation is feminine. We need both. Mm-hmm. Very important. Now,
would you say testosterone has a bad rap, like a reputation that is aggressive or things like this, when in reality, testosterone could be, as you said, discipline, a real, positive impac on men and perhaps women?
Yes. Yeah. You hit you rang the bell. Did you read Beyond Mars and Venus?
I only
not Beyond. I started with the classic.
Oh, the classic is really important, but keep in mind that the world has changed a lot. So we have to also update our understanding. Men are still like men, women are women, but men are becoming overly feminized. Women are becoming overly masculinized. So we have to come back and find balance, not to give up. Women don't have to give up their masculine qualities. They have to find their femininity again if they want to be happy. And men have to find their masculinity again, if not that they can't be happy, but if they want to feel powerful. See, power is, I say I'm going to do something, I do it. How many times we say I'm going to do something, we procrastinate. We just don't have the juice. We don't have the power. That's what power is look, I'm going to do this, I do it. And then I'm going to do this, I do it. And what's important and what's useful, I do that. I don't let my emotions control me. I have emotions. I don't let them control me. So it's a big story, So what you just said is, how do I say your name? Alvaro?
Alvaro, yeah.
Alvaro. Thank you. It's just little tiny words on my screen. Alvaro. It's one of the key points in this book, because once we understand the biology of men and women, it completely transforms our whole awareness. It turns out that whenever a man is aggressive, his estrogen levels, that's the female hormone. Women, for example, if they're happy, if she's a happy girl walking around, she's got 10 times more estrogen than any happy guy. That's biology. Mm-hmm. If her estrogen's low, she's walking around with resentment. She's unhappy. She has low self-esteem. Happy woman, happy girl, 10 times more estrogen than you guys. Now, if she falls in love with you, it doubles. So that's the secret. Get it to double, and you've got a woman who goes, I can't live without you. Okay, see, estrogen, it says, I need you.
It's the attachment part of the hormone, right?
That's right. Estrogen is the attachment hormone. And testosterone is the detachment hormone. Detachment.
The string. We pull back the string.
The rubber band. You're right. Testosterone is I pull away. If you've had sex, then you have this wonderful orgasm. You feel so close to her, and then you can't be in the same room with her. Then you want to get out. So you got to pull away. I have to share about my first sexual experience. Again, I grew up in a culture that said you can't have sex before marriage, but I wanted it. Okay. So
definitely.
So literally, my sister, I'm at a young age at this point. I'm not going to say how old I was, but I'm at a young age. And my younger sister had a friend who ran away from home, and she climbed in through my sister knocks on my bathroom window. I had a little apartment outside the house. I had a separate apartment. And this woman my sister knocked on the window, says, can my friend Carol stay with you tonight? I said, sure. I thought, sure, you can come stay with me. And then she put on this little nightie with practically nothing on. I said, we're going to sleep in this little bed together. Well, hormones take over, so this was my first time. And I was just so grateful. I talked to her later. I said, my first, and she said, I asked her if I was her first. She said, no, but you were my best.
Wow.
Okay. That was fun.
Congrats.
That was great. But this was so heavenly, to experience the surge of testosterone that you experience when you experience a woman responding to your energy. Her orgasm only increases your testosterone more. And then, so I feel like, thank God, this was the greatest. This was amazing. And it's funny because the Beatles at that time had written a song called She Came In Through the Bathroom Window. So she literally came in through the bathroom window. It was very funny. So I've got a collective consciousness thing. So there I am, and I'm lying in bed with her. I'm saying this for a point. This isn't just a fun story. Is after I had intimacy with her, my estrogen levels go up, right? That pushes testosterone levels down. And now I felt like I couldn't breathe. I had to pull away from her. So I had to get a little bit further. She was all bonded to me, She said, that's great, and I'm starting to pull away, feeling guilty pulling away. And she said, is something the matter? I said, no, I just need a little space. And then I couldn't sleep. So I had to lie on the floor. And she said, is there something the matter? This poor girl, her feelings, this guy was right there. He wants to sleep on the floor now. And so I didn't know what was going on. See, I didn't understand any of this stuff. But see, my estrogen had gone so high, it pushed my testosterone down. I needed distance to pull back into myself. So that's the rebuilding of the testosterone. So I had to pull away from estrogen for the testosterone to go up. And then I couldn't sleep. So then I snuck out of the room, got on my motorcycle, drove over to a friend's house, and we spent the whole night talking about, why is sex a bad thing? This is the greatest thing in the world. I feel like Superman. How could this be? But see, what I didn't understand is that if I didn't know somebody, and this is what my other next message is when you don't know somebody in the mind and in the heart, meaning getting to know them, bond with them through conversation, through romance, like doing things for her, whatever. Then if you bond through sex, once you bond through sex, your testosterone goes down. You will feel repelled from her. You'll lose interest in her. You think, I don't really want to be with her. When actually you just didn't bond enough in your heart and in your mind. because your energy goes down, and then you seek another stimulation. Always new and different woman will give you a surge of testosterone. Now, this is the real crisis, and you talked about this crisis. And before I go into the boy crisis, let me finish the point. So it turns out that testosterone is never aggressive. Men are only aggressive if their testosterone levels are going down and their estrogen is going up. Men, whenever you're angry, your estrogen is going up, your testosterone is going down. Whenever you're crying, your estrogen levels are going up. Whenever you feel, when you feel bored, passive, grumpy, irritable, no energy, that's just low testosterone. But if you have the low energy and you're resistant, and you get angry or irritable, or you feel anxiousness and whatever, that is estrogen, such high estrogen levels. So for me, you asked the question, I'll go back to Woodstock. So we all had this great experience at Woodstock. We were high as kite. Then coming down, I really felt deeper into despair than I've ever felt. I felt like I'd lost my way. And there was a great rock and roll song at that time, I Can't Find My Way Home. Mm-hmm. It was literally that I felt like I just couldn't find my way back. What was missing in my life? This wasn't it. And right at that point, the whole thing about, I had a poster in my room with the Beatles, who were like my heroes at the time. And they were sitting around Maharishi. And my mother mentioned to me, said, who's that guru over there? Because she would never push spirituality on me. She's very spiritual in a secret way, private. Yeah. But then who's that guru over there? And I said, I don't know. And it's amazing, the Beatles and a guru. And that's all she said, feather touch. I always talk about, if you want to have an impact, feather touch. And then that week, I was going to I studied martial arts, right? So that's what I was doing as a young teenager. And somebody said, hey, there's a samurai demonstration. So I thought, samurai, martial arts, I'll go see it. It was a seminar, and it was the word was the same, samurai seminar. Yeah. And it was on transcendental meditation. And I heard that seminar. I said, wow, higher states of consciousness. And I have to admit, before I went in, I met some cool looking guy with long golden locks and a big red beard, and he looked like Jesus or something. And he said, 2 months ago, he had practiced transcendental meditation. He learned. I said, really? What happened? He said, through meditation, you gain all the powers. I said, what powers? It's, you can see through walls. You can travel in the universe. You can go wherever you want. You have expanded awareness. You can read people's minds. I went, wow. Okay. Now, the lecture on transcendental meditation did not say any of that, but I was so impressed. I could still give that, I could actually give you that lecture today, word for word. It had such an impression on me. It was literally like already written in my heart. And I remember going to the talk, being inspired by this lecture on meditation. And I came home, my father said, where you been? You're 2 hours late. You're probably out taking drugs. I said, no, I was at this lecture on meditation. He says, oh, really? What did they say? And I gave the whole talk. Wow. It was literally, when something is meant to be, you feel like, yeah, this is it for me. And I just said, I got to do it. And here I was slated to go to Stanford University. My parents went there, and one of my great grandfathers actually was is the government person that built Stanford University. So I had a whole big collection of California resident family all went to Stanford. And I said, no, Hunt, my mother, I said, I want to follow the Maharishi. That's my life quest, and she asked me, she said, well, why? And, I'm very deeply Christian at the time. Now I'm very universal. Okay. So, but very Christian. I said, Mom, if a long time ago, if Jesus came into my village and said, follow me, I would drop everything and follow him. And I don't look at Maharishi as Jesus, but he's the closest thing to it that I've met so far. So that's my life. That's amazing. My mother said, yes, here's something interesting about my dad, because he was like a bit more conservative than my mom. And he supported me in that whole endeavor. And I asked my mom after he passed, eventually he died. And she said, your father, when he heard you wanted to do this, was very proud of you. And I said, why? He said, because, your father, as an oil man, worked as the vice president of the oil company, and his father was the president. So he really didn't have the power, he was always having to be limited by his father. And at one point in our marriage, when you kids were all little, she said to me, he wanted to branch out and start his own oil company in West Texas, which later became Shell Oil. He found the oil wells for Shell Oil, and he was ready to drill. We had an oil drilling company, and he could start his own. And because he had young children, my mother said because of young children, he thought it would be too disruptive to the children, so he stayed. And he didn't follow his dreams. He didn't follow his heart. And he sees you following your heart, and he's proud of you for that. That was so sweet. So sweet. So many of our fathers neglected to follow their hearts because they had to, they had to provide for their family. But see, today's a new world. We don't have the same pressure to provide for a family because women can also help provide. There's a whole different thing. That's the benefit of it. But the problem with it is that women who can provide for themselves, they're all thinking, I don't need a man.
Mm-hmm.
So when you don't, when you don't feel needed, what's going to boost your testosterone when you're with a woman? And what's going to allow her to feel so much appreciation and love, which would boost your testosterone? Because what makes you feel love, this is your female side that feels love, is when you feel you need something. You can depend on something, on someone or something to make you happy. And like right now, when I have my glass of orange juice every day, it's like an elixir from heaven. It's better than any drug. I'm kind of on drugs now because I had a glass of orange juice today. I tell you, you guys should try fasting for a day. It takes a lot of willpower. Just don't eat anything. Drink a lot of water, put some lemon in it or something. Uh-huh. The next day, you feel like a man. You feel, and then when you drink something, you feel like you just had the best sex in your life. It's fantastic. Mm-hmm. It's learning how to find your power as a man. Now, how you give away your power. This is, it's not the friendly news. Okay. This is what's part of the boy crisis, a part of the boy crisis, but it's the internet porn. Every time you ejaculate the internet porn, your testosterone goes down. It's biological. Then you do it on a regular basis, you're addicted to it. There's nothing more pleasurable than having big erection to a stranger who pretends to like you and love you. It boosts your testosterone like you're, Superman. So you get that big dose. It's the same thing that happens in your brain as if you were taking cocaine. So now you become a cocaine addict. Now, what's the problem with cocaine addicts? They all have low testosterone. So you keep depending upon the high dopamine hit gives you a surge of testosterone, and then it crashes because you didn't earn it in your lifestyle. You see, your lifestyle is what produces your testosterone, your attitudes, your approaches, your behaviors, your interactions, your relationships. That's all your big testosterone boosters. And just as a side note, but my young audience here, guys, you always need to make your work, your achievement and your accomplishments and your self-sufficiency more important than making a woman happy. You first have to find yourself before you want to share yourself with a woman. Now you can have relationships with women, but you need to find your happiness inside yourself, not look to her for your happiness. You can, once you have a sense of confidence in yourself, then you share that with your partner, but you're not needy for her love and affection. And women are always going to have bad moods. I just want you to know this. Wake up to the reality of every woman has ups and downs. Now, when she has, it's like waves. Mm-hmm. Now, my mother didn't because she lived in a different generation. Okay. She was like pampered. I mean, she didn't care about being a man. But once women are on their male side, they're going to go to their male side, back to their female side, back to their male side. And so they have these mood swings and they complain a lot. Guess what complaining does for women? Increases estrogen. Women are addicted to complaining or being dissatisfied or being pouty and being moody because they need estrogen. And we're dependent upon porn and masturbating because we need testosterone. And the most powerful thing you can do, and this is part of, I'm not saying everybody should be monks, okay? But part of my greatness and my accomplishments in my life, okay? So I don't want to do this too much, but I just want to say that I'm a very ambitious guy. I became the #1 biggest selling author in America and the world for 8 years. Okay. Then other books came in or whatever. Yeah, it was a big accomplishment. I'm #1 expert advice all around the world. I sold maybe 100 million books beyond my imagination. I'm healthy. I live in a mansion. I've got my own TV studio. I have swimming pool. I got grandchildren. I got the relationships. I got fantastic. Now that my wife has passed, I can't control that part of it. But now I got a girlfriend having great sex. I mean, you can have it all. You got to build it up. You got to find your power to manifest it. So how does your power manifest things? Well, simply put, is that you follow through on what you say you want to do. Okay, it comes to that. That's how you build your confidence. 2, you don't waste your energy. If you fantasize about having sex with some woman that doesn't adore you, you just lost energy. There's an energetic exchange every time you feel arousal. Your power comes from inside. Now, my power now is almost 70 years old. Also comes from what I learned when I was in my 20s, which is not that I'm recommending it. You have to do it, but just be aware of the power that comes from it. Is I never masturbated for 9 years.
Yeah, you were celibate for 9 years.
I was celibate,
Wow.
but see, a lot of people say they're celibate. They're just not getting laid. I did not masturbate for 9 years. I had the smell of semen coming out of my armpits. Okay.
Oh my God.
So it was saturating my body. Literally, I stopped aging. I got higher consciousness from that. I got power from that. And that is the huge testosterone loss is every time you ejaculate, just physically, by the way, you lose zinc. Zinc's necessary to make testosterone. So you got to be very careful about it. Here's a study they did on, 22-year-old athletes. Okay, so you can measure testosterone performance physically, actually. How fast you run is testosterone. Okay, so let's see how fast you can run. Now, let's tell you, have sex on Saturday night, and then don't masturbate, nothing for 6 days. On the 7th day, their testosterone levels doubled. Now, let's say that they had sex on Saturday night, and on Wednesday, they had sex again. Or on Wednesday, they masturbated, either one. They released their ejaculation. On Saturday, it doesn't double. Never doubles again. You forget what it's like to feel powerful. You see, it's just like, it's such a damage that people don't understand this. And at the same time, it's a delicate subject. We don't want to shame ourselves. See, society shames us for wanting to have sex, shames us for ejaculating and whatever. So I don't mean to shame, but I want to point out scientifically that it's an addiction. Mm-hmm. And that if you're not getting satisfied sexually, your body does need it. And so if you're not getting it, when your body has to do it, you release. But how do you release? I know you're all masturbating to porn out there. So let's just look how to do it. You want to build your testosterone. Look, I wrote a book on this. One called Staying Focused in a Hyper World and another one, The Avoid Crisis. So I wrote. Okay. So to do that, I had to actually watch some porn. What I learned, I didn't know. I don't watch porn and I have no interest in it. I got a naked woman at home, so more multi-orgasmic. And I've learned also, I'll just throw that in there, I can have sex every day because I don't ejaculate when I have sex. Okay, so there's a way you can have orgasm without ejaculating. That's lots of books on that, whatever. And that's something I mastered in my life. But let's just stay out of the expert zone and just come back to normal guys here.
We'll get there eventually.
You will get there eventually. Okay, so basically you've got masturbation. So if you have the addiction, you're masturbating all the time, you feel like you need it. Yeah. So every cocaine addict says, I need it. Mm-hmm. And then we have the counter society says, and masturbation is not bad. It's not bad because they used to make you really bad. They punish you for it. It was a big shameful act. And so we still hardly can talk about it. I'm just with you, so I can talk about it. But the bottom line is when you masturbate, you're taking a dose of cocaine, you get addicted to it. What that does in the brain when you take cocaine, let's measure cocaine, it overstimulates the brain with pleasure. So these little pleasure receptors close down. They say, that's too much pleasure. That's it. It's like if you go out in the bright sunlight, what will happen instantly is your pupils will constrict. And then you come into this room and it will look really dark because they're constricted. So Ejaculation is like sunshine, bright day, then you come back to your life, it looks really dark. It takes time for it to come back, but too much time. Oh, it's boring and flat. And so the brain goes, oh, I want my cookie. And you go back to it. And each time you go back to it, you lose pleasure receptors in your brain.
Yeah.
You actually lose them. Okay, that for a long time happens. But you can regrow them. The brain is like amazing, adaptive if you just slow it down. But
it relates to social media as well, right?
Say that again.
With pleasure receptors, would you say social media also takes a part in it?
Every instant gratification is dopamine. So what we've all become is dopamine addicts. And there's an addict to that, particularly for women, the whole knowing what everybody else is doing, they're addicted to that. We tend to be more vulnerable to the visual addiction. That's males. Women are less visual. So, if I just stand naked in front of all the women, they're not going to have much of a reaction unless I'm the only man in the room and I'm going to give her a lifetime of fulfillment. Okay, then I can walk in naked. Otherwise, forget it. They're turned off. But any woman can walk in my room naked. I go, oh, particularly when I'm younger. Now I'm not interested. I didn't want to see another woman naked. I just want to see my partner naked. That's it. That's it. I feel like you see, there's so much that we don't know about sex. But one is when you ejaculate, you're giving your spirit energy to this person. And if they don't love you, that's just wasted. If you give your spirit energy to somebody and they love you back, which means they had an orgasm. Okay, she didn't have an orgasm, you didn't get your energy back. So many women have to fake orgasm because men will say, well, did you orgasm? We know something's wrong here if she doesn't orgasm because we just doesn't feel as good. We want to know we got that orgasm. We're not as sensitive to really know for sure. So many women fake orgasm. But there's a reality of your energy field builds through having sex and even ejaculating. If you emptied out your savings into a great investment, basically, it's going to come back to you. Then it's fine. But you keep putting your money out there in bad investments, you're losing it. You're losing empty, empty, empty. So how do you train yourself? First thing is when you're masturbating, the goal, you get turned on by some naked woman. There's nothing more dopamine stimulating than a stranger woman with no clothes on. Okay. See, the sex is ruled by the monkey brain back here. Okay. It's completely automatic. You cannot control who you get turned on to. It happens. I can't just go, hey, erection, doesn't happen. No erection, doesn't happen. It comes up at the most inconvenient times when I was younger, that's for sure.
It's unconscious, yeah.
It's run by the unconscious. That's what we have to recognize. This is not something in your power. So what you can do is control it, okay? So you can't make it come up or down, but you can decide where it goes and what you do with it, all right? And you don't want it to be addicted to ejaculation. So before I get into the technique on how to give up your addiction to masturbation, let me just talk about one of the other dangers. In your generation, kids that have been doing it every day for 5 years or so forth, they get to 21 years old, they get in a relationship with a girlfriend, they have sex, and they lose interest. That's it. This is happening more and more. There's actually 21-year-olds who are impotent when they're with a woman. But if they're with a stranger online, they're not impotent. That's because they're now dependent on the drug to raise it up. And the more you depend on a high dopamine stimulator to have your testosterone go up, the less normal stimulation, which is a girl who says, you have to do this and this for me before I have sex with you. That's a lot of work. You basically go, there's nothing there. But also what it's about is when you're actually care about a woman, you know her and you're bonding with her and you feel a connection, you like her, you want to do nice things for her. It makes you happy when she's happy. That's estrogen. That means when you're with her, your estrogen goes up. If your testosterone's really low, then you can't have an erection with her. You need to have higher testosterone so that when you love her, the testosterone comes down a little bit. So you become a little softer, you become a little more gentle, you become a little more caring. But you don't go all the way down. Anytime a man has high estrogen than his testosterone, he's not going to be able to get an erection in that situation. Yeah. So you got to pump up your testosterone. And now, so that's the point of this, is you want to be able to sustain a relationship where you have sexual attraction. People are just not getting married now because they lose interest in each other sexually. That's it. You know, you don't feel that electricity. You know, in my marriage, my wife, she dresses and undresses in a different room. Why? Because if I see breasts, I want to have sex right away with her. You know, it's like, give me some peace.
John is chasing her out here
all the time because it doesn't release. Okay, so I don't have to have that recovery period. Well, we're built to have a recovery period unless you learn how to have sex without ejaculating. That's a different story. But let's get to that. And before you want to be able to do that, you want to be able, when you do have sex, to last longer. Okay, so a good 60-70% of low testosterone males, basically they put it in and 2 minutes later it's done. You know, it feels great. It's a great orgasm, whatever. They can't last long. I mean, to be able to fuck for an hour and take her to orgasm and orgasm and orgasm puts her totally into estrogen land, mindless. That's what the French call it, which is was a little death. You know, that's when I stop, is when she says, you know, I'm dying. I say, okay, well, stop. You know, that's great sex. That's what you can have. But, you know, she has to have a lot of estrogen, but you increase that estrogen by the way you have sex with her. Desiring a woman and not ejaculating continues to rise her estrogen levels. But you have to feel all that desire without being attached to all the pleasure, because your brain is attached to that dopamine pleasure moment. So your brain says, hey, let's ejaculate. And you've trained yourself for years just masturbating to get your release. So what you have to do is practice never masturbating to pictures or internet porn. That's the first step. So go easy with yourself. However much you masturbate, don't change it at all. Just don't use pictures and porn. And you kind of go, but I need that. Then you start remembering pictures and porn. And you go, okay, but then you keep trying to let go of those pictures, you know, just so you're not dependent on it. Just check in with your body. Do I really need that release? The body thinks it needs it because you're addicted to it. But now you're not at least visiting the cocaine dealer. You're not going to go online and look at that. So that's abstinence. First thing is abstinence. Second thing is now you're going to masturbate. And you're going to try to not use pictures in your mind. You will, but you try not to. Okay. What I want to do is I want to look at the clock. And my goal is to see how long I can feather touch my penis without ejaculating.
With an actual feather? Are we using an actual feather?
No, just finger. Using your finger. Okay, feather touch. Just, you know, guy go like, you know, we get going. Oh, you know, so we're building this tension. You see, there's a tension that we have to release. That causes the ejaculation. So you find that you're sitting there. Okay, so I got to masturbate. So you got this big erection. What am I going to do with it? You look at the clock. Keep looking at the clock. So your eyes aren't closed. So you can't visualize fantasy so much if your eyes are open. And you're looking at the clock. And you say, okay, so my goal today is to stroke myself gently for 10 minutes. All right. And then not ejaculate. My goal is not to ejaculate. My goal is to learn how to keep an erection for 10 minutes and gently touch it. And you see what happens with male ejaculation, it goes in stages. There's an arousal stage, and this is all science. This is Masters and Johnson, and later replicated, that the arousal stage is everything feels good. Okay. Then you have a plateau stage. And when you're masturbating, that's when you start going harder because you're trying to see in the arousal stage, everything just feels good. Whatever you do feels good. It's going up, and then it hits a plateau where you continue trying to make it still feels good, but it doesn't feel better and better and better. You're now on a plateau. Mm-hmm. And once you get that plateau, you've got probably for a lot of men who have been doing porn, you've got about 2 seconds before you realize, if I keep doing this, then that spasm is going to take place and I'm going to have an ejaculation.
The point of no return.
That's a point of no return. So you want to be able to keep noticing the point of no return and keep it out there to like 20 seconds. So you touch yourself, and you see that you're 20 seconds away from the point of no return, or as much far away you can get, then stop. And your erection will still be there. And then you touch and touch and touch. And your whole thing is to get 10 minutes with a hard erection without getting to the point of no return. And then you go take a cold shower. Now, what I did as a monk when I was celibate is we had bathtubs. I'd fill that bathtub up with cold water, and then I would do 3 dips in it every day. Oh, it was freezing cold. Mm-hmm. But, you know, there's a guy online, he teaches classes on cold water therapy. You want to build your testosterone, check out that. I mean, if you have the power, it takes power to do cold water therapy.
Mhm.
But it will kick you into your testosterone, will just shoot up just right. Because who wants to be in ice cold water? You know, but I also am an expert on ice cold water, although I don't do it so much. The trick to it is if you get in ice cold water, don't move. If you don't move, it's not so cold. That's the technique. As soon as you move, it's more cold. But you just do it as willpower. It's like when you get in a swimming pool, you jump in and you swim really hard, then you're not cold. You know, you just got to get your system going. So you got to take that energy that's in your erection and shoot it through your whole body without that orgasm. So you keep saying, your motivation as a guy, I know what our motivations are. We want to fuck for an hour. I mean, just drive her crazy. Well, that's a power. That's like going to the gym. You got to build up a muscle to do that. You want to have pecs, you want to have muscles. What do? You got to work out, you know? So your masturbation becomes this workout where if you've got these erections, not that you try to get erections, you never try to get erections, but you're going to have them because you're addicted to them. So now you say, my goal is 10 minutes. Then you go to my goal is 15 minutes. My goal is 30 minutes. You get the goal is 30 minutes, you've got a hard erection, and then you're with a girl, you can bring her to places she's never been before. Not that I'm suggesting it's a big thing, but Baryshnikov, have you heard of Baryshnikov?
No.
Okay, in my generation, my wife always wanted me to go see him. He's the ballet guy like you can't believe. He can do stuff on stage, that unimaginable stuff. He was the superstar ballet guy. And Baryshnikov was known, you know, you think gay guys are going to be doing all the ballet. He wasn't gay, he was heterosexual, and he's having sex with all the women. He was known as the stud. Why was he the stud? Because he was doing one of the most powerful exercises in order to build your potency to last longer in sex. And what was that exercise? Pleiades. Have you heard that term, Pleiades?
Yeah.
Okay, it's a ballet term. And if you do 5 minutes, 10 minutes of Pleiades, what happens is you strengthen your leg muscles. So you learn how to contract your buttocks without contracting your anus. See, when you have sex, you contract anus. When you thrust, you want to contract. What we typically do, we're unconscious down there. We're like monkeys. And monkeys' job is to ejaculate quick before anybody else comes. Okay, so they're not trying to like extend the pleasure of the whole thing. So our monkey self when we thrust, we moving in, contracting our anus. So if you just contract your anus, you see that contraction. If you can keep your anus relaxed, but thrust forward without contracting the anus, you last longer once you give up the addiction. You have to realize, I'm not trying to have an ejaculation here. I'm trying to last longer. And what happens is now your pelvic opens up, moves more, because you're not contracting tight ass. You're opening it up, relaxing it, and the plies will do it tremendously because you go down, you go up, and the whole intention is to use your leg muscles to thrust you forward, as opposed strengthen those muscles so that when you're having sex, it's your whole leg muscles and your whole body that's doing the thrusting and not just the anus. Because all that energy gets stuck down to the anus, too much energy, it becomes inflamed, and you got to release that energy, release that tension.
Yeah.
Wow.
So let your whole body thrive.
Yeah.
Anyway,
strange concept.
You're young guys, I love being able to teach you this stuff. I didn't know this stuff. You know, this was like
they don't
amazing
teach that.
stuff.
They don't teach that. Huh?
They don't teach that in school. That's for sure.
Textbooks.
Now the other one in Texas or anywhere. Here's another one I learned in China from a Taoist teacher. See, they learned this ancient Taoism. They also know the Taoist masters that do energy work. They all are celibates. Okay, they keep the energy. They have sex, but they just don't ejaculate. Also, I studied Tantra as well in India when I was doing my research there. After I stopped being a monk and all of that, you know, funny story is I was a monk for 9 years. Then when I came out into the world, I came out in the world, by the way, because meditation did not help my brother who was bipolar. And, you know, a lot of us are bipolar, mood swings. If you have mood swings, you have some degree of bipolar, and I couldn't help him. It's a sad story. He eventually shot himself. Suicides in males are 8 times higher in males than females. We are more vulnerable to these mood swings because of the high estrogen levels in our life, but also do things in the brain. If you're really smart and you're a guy, your risk of mood swings is greater because smartness often is a balance of masculine and feminine. So I can tell by both of you, just looking at your facial structures, you're handsome in a kind of a pretty way.
Yeah.
Okay, that means you're born with more estrogen than most guys.
Mhm.
You know, you get these guys that are kind of like ugly, but are really attractive to women. That's because it's ugly as, I don't care about looking pretty. That's
Masculine.
testosterone.
Yeah.
So there's that side to you. So you have more potential to produce greatness, but you've got to work on staying on your masculine side so your soft side doesn't control you. That's the indulgent side. And what I'm seeing today is that the two indulgent things that males do is too much time playing video games, which is proven to lower your testosterone. And certainly the masturbating with online porn is a major testosterone reducer. So these are our challenges. You know, when I would masturbate as a teenager, it was to a Playboy magazine with a woman wearing underwear. That was about as much as we saw. Okay,
Just a
you guys,
picture. Huh?
just his picture. There's no action, nothing, you know. You are so stimulated. We live in such a world which is so different now. It's very hard to do what I'm saying instinctively. You have to recognize it's weakening you, and it will weaken you, and we will make mistakes. There's always dropbacks, fallbacks. You know, I have sex without ejaculating, and occasionally I don't balance the timing right, and I ejaculate. But it takes me a good 2 weeks before it's really easy to now do it again like that. I have to use a lot of control, because when you don't ejaculate, you build up the semen, you build up an inner power, so you're more detached. See, it's the building up of the semen gives you all that testosterone, so that you don't get too attached to that ejaculation, and you're not too attached to her either. You know, you're able to keep a nice boundary. You adore her, you love her, you serve her, and you know what you said earlier about testosterone. I'll just bring us back to that and listen to your questions now. It's we think of testosterone, you know, as this aggressive guy. Actually, it's testosterone, low testosterone, that's aggressive. Men who are acknowledged as heroes, they're willing to walk into battle and give their lives for their family. Masculinity is selfless. Masculinity is willing to do the dirty, dangerous, and difficult things so that your children and your family doesn't have to do that. We're the protectors. We're the guardians. We're the proud people. And people used to build statues to us, and now they're tearing them down. Father used to know best, and now it's father knows least. Your masculinity is culturally being wiped out. And part of it is women have become masculine. And yes, that's a good thing, but they need help from us. So our new help is to become skilled in our relationship skills. And I haven't focused a lot on that today because you're all single. And what you need
not me,
is
not me.
Well, are you married?
No.
That's what I meant. You're not married yet. Basically, here's the time to think about getting married. Wait till you're 28. Don't think about getting. You can be in intimate relationships, but the vulnerability you have if you fall in love with somebody in your 20s, and I didn't, so I was spared that. But the vulnerability you have is to make a woman's happiness your happiness instead of first finding your own happiness. Then when a woman is happy, you're happier. And if a woman is unhappy, you're still happy. That's how I came up with all the Mars-Venus stuff, because during my formative years, from 21 to 28, actually from 18 to 28, I wasn't dependent on anything other than myself to be happy. And I learned through meditation how to find happiness within. So then when I got in a relationship with my wife, I'm already happy. I'm just enjoying becoming happier through great sex, okay? And then having the joys of a family and a wife and a partnership in life and all this success. But when she's unhappy, it doesn't affect me so much. It affected me. But it's kind of like I'm driving my car and this woman doesn't like the way I drive and she rushes up behind me and shoots me the finger. I go, what's your problem? And walk on. That's called not taking things personally. We men take things too personally when we're on our female side. Now, women are always going to take it personally, so you have to be patient with them. That's estrogen. Everything's about them. You know, there's a problem. Well, don't you care about my feelings? Or what about me? And why didn't you look at me? They're always going to, that's okay. You want more estrogen in women. The problem for women, if women were our audience, is I just would say in the context of all this talk, is complaining and criticizing and judging are all estrogen producers. So if a woman is in a relationship, she just says, I'm dissatisfied. I don't like this. You should do this. Why did you do that? That really hurts my feelings. That hurts me. Anytime you feel hurt, you're going to have a surge of estrogen. Women are addicted to this hypersensitivity. And so your generation, I know it's probably some happening in Spain, but in America, we have safe zones. Everybody in college, you have to have safe zones. You can't have people say something that would offend you. Oh my gosh, we're all so sensitive about this. How dare you say that? You know, I can't go on college campuses. What I'm saying here is so radical that I'm considered a rapist.
Wow.
Okay, I'm like the savior to millions of women in the world, but the universities consider me a rapist, a sexist. Oh, we can't let him talk here. I've had people demonstrate, pull lines up in front of me for not letting anybody in, making up all kinds of stories. There's no example of me being a rapist. There's nothing. It's just he doesn't see that we're all the same. Mm-hmm. See, we're living in this crazy world where we imagine we're all the same. Now, just look at it. If we're all the same, are we all the same? No, we're totally different. Do we deserve equal rights? Yes, equal human rights. Do we have that? Yes, we should have that. Respect is missing in our culture tremendously, for women for sure, but also for men. How many slave laborers are there in this world? You know, we always talk about the abuse and the oppression of women, and it's true. And unfortunately, universities just talk about that. It's hard for a woman to have a positive view of a man, particularly if you have masculine qualities. If you're an oppressor, and women have been oppressed, there's a dark history on this planet. But there's also a dark history, what happened to men. Every war is an oppression of men. Guys up there say, okay, now go off and kill these people. Give your life up. Go work in these sweatshops. Go work for minimum wage. Who can live on minimum wage where I live? It's shocking. It's slave labor as far as I'm concerned. So no wonder men misbehave and act out and do crazy things. Because I said, if a man doesn't get what he's worth, if he doesn't feel like I'm being rewarded for what I do, his testosterone goes down. He doesn't feel successful. Low self-esteem. Estrogen goes up. Now he becomes the guy we have to fight a war against.
Yeah.
You know, we need to love men like we need to love women. You know, this is a messed up situation. And trying to say that men are bad is the worst thing in the world. Just like if we're saying women are bad, which men often will do when they get together, instead of like having some empathy and some compassion and understanding. But do both men and women act out like together? You know, nobody's perfect in this world. We need to understand sameness is not the solution. It's respect for our for our individual differences. And particularly if we don't even understand how people are different, how can we respect them?
John, I had a quick question for you, maybe just to like wrap this all up. And that's really, how can we start bringing things back into balance? Like we've talked about the imbalances in the hormones and the testosterone, the estrogen levels in men and women. I'd love to hear your perspective on bringing things back together. And first of all, it's that empathy and that compassion that you just mentioned, but is there any practical tools that we can start implementing as men and women? Maybe we can start with the ladies this time to bring things back into balance.
Yeah, I mean, there's how many books do I have behind me here on all those things? But I have my favorite one, my recent favorite technique, because the COVID pandemic, couples are at home and their hormones are way out of balance. You see, one thing we have to understand, you can't get everything you want from one person. And women will tend to attach to a man as the source of their fulfillment. Sometimes a man will as well if he's on his female side. And so if your partner is ignoring you, you feel really hurt by that. If you don't understand that people have to pull away sometimes in a relationship, too much attachment is not a good thing. Too much detachment is not a good thing. But when you're stuck in the house, something new is happening. So to understand that, we have to recognize that when you have a life, you have a lot of needs are being met. Think of them as vitamins, vitamin A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And all those different vitamins you're getting through your life. Now, when you have to stay at home all the time, suddenly most of your vitamins, you're not getting them. But your partner is vitamin D. Now, vitamin D is like sunshine, right? That makes sunshine. And so when you met your partner and when you have all your other vitamins and your partner comes along and you don't have enough vitamin D, it's like, wow, the sun's out. I feel great. Let's go swimming. Let's go do something outside. You come alive because you have all the other vitamins, but you didn't have the vitamin D because it's been cloudy for a long time. Now you're getting your vitamin D. But if you don't have any of the other vitamins and you get your vitamin D, it doesn't do anything. So suddenly your partner's going to dissatisfy you. They're not going to be enough. You're not getting what you need. Everything's grumpy, irritable. Problems break out. People say things they don't mean. Then people say things they don't mean. And then we go, no, you said it. You must have mean it. There's this old thing of, if you said it, you meant it. And no, that's who they become when they're completely not themselves. So then we want to hold on to those things because we're all out of balance and we want to justify we're victims. So it's crazy what's going on in relationships, and crazy will happen and does happen. It happens during pandemic more, happens all the time anyway. Every divorce is practically based on lots of crazy. I've done this 40 years. It's a lot of crazy. All right. So having said all that, I put it down, not so much the crazy. It's more like hormonal imbalance. So a little technique that I think is wonderful you can do with your girlfriend. So much fun. You say to her, okay, we're going to play the genie in the bottle game. Okay, what's that? Well, there's rules. Now we have to follow the rules. Now, what is the genie in the bottle? For 20 minutes, for the next 20 minutes, he is the genie. The genie is all powerful. I'll grant every wish you have. He's a better genie. He doesn't just have 3 wishes. He's got unlimited wishes within 20 minutes. So you got 20 minutes. You can ask me anything. With a smile, I'm going to immediately do it. And her objective in the game is she can't do anything for herself. She has to ask his help for anything. And she can ask him anything that he can accomplish within that 20 minutes. Now, let's say he always leaves the lights out. He doesn't turn out the lights. That's my wife used to have that complaint. You can't say in the game, I want you to always remember to turn out the light. I said, oh, you're asking about outside this 20 minutes. That's not a part of the game. Mm-hmm. I did this game for a men's magazine, and they did a great article. And then they said this one sentence that was wrong. I'm sure it was a woman editor who came in and added, because everything you interview, there's an editor above that. And they said, play the game where you can ask him to do anything. Like, honey, I'd like you to empty all the dishes from the sink. And I'd like you to always remember to put your dishes away. That's a woman adding that in. That's what ruins everything. When you try to control people, it doesn't work. But if it's instant gratification, it works. And the secret here is when it comes to estrogen, every act of love, big or small, has the same estrogen response. So let me explain this. If I have 500 roses, I'm going to get an estrogen response in her. Or I give her 1 rose, it will be the same estrogen response. Mm-hmm. It's amazing. So if I want a lot of estrogen responses, I do 1 rose, 1 hug, 1 compliment, 1 cleaning out the dishes, every little act of love. That's why we had these traditional romantic gestures that men would make. Open the car door, plan the date, drive in a way that makes her feel happy, buy the tickets for her. See, anybody does something for you, you feel like, that's wonderful. Oh, now so many women today, they're so uncomfortable with their female side. So uncomfortable. They low self-esteem that if you do something for them, then no, I can do it myself. Because they have such low self-esteem that basically, if I let you do that for me, then I owe you. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to owe you anything. I don't want to be obligated to you for anything. And that's low self-esteem. You see, normal self-esteem is, yeah, you want to do something for me? Great, I'll enjoy it. And that's payment. See, all we want as men is to feel we make a difference. We don't need you to buy dinner for us next time. We need you to say, wow, that was a wonderful meal. You don't have to pay us back. It's ridiculous. It's be feminine. What we need most as men is to feel appreciated, accepted, and trusted. Those 3 basic things. What women need to feel is that we're willing to be generous, caring, considerate, understanding, respectful. Let us do things for you and enjoy it. So kind of in summary, for a lot of women have difficulty with this because culture is telling women, you have to do it yourself. You can't depend on a man. Actually, the more you can depend on a man and appreciate what he provides you, the more he'll fall in love with you. It's like, that's all we want, is to feel like we're appreciated. That's harder today than ever before. So that's why I wrote this book, Beyond Mars and Venus, which shows us that women today, the more independent you are, the more you have a greater need. You need men more than ever. You need men more than ever to help you come back to your female side. And as men learn those new skills, listening skills, affection skills, sex skills, we can make you, bring you to heaven that nobody else can bring you. So our basic objective is our power, men, is not to make women happy. Our power is to make them happier. And her power is to be happy so that you can make her happier. And if she's not happy, it's a mistake for her to complain about you. She needs to take care of herself to be happy. That's the foundation. And before we end, I know our time's up. You know, you're all young listening to this thing. Learn to meditate. Learn to meditate. It's just such a great thing.
How we start.
It's the most powerful thing, particularly for men to do. You know, women are doing their yoga classes in a group and everything. This is what you do alone. You come, you get alone and you meditate. I'm going to turn you into my meditation technique because see, what we've just done now is talk for an hour. You're connected to me. There's no time and space difference right now. So I want you to put your hands up like this, okay? Now, I just turned on my energy. Notice your fingertips, they're starting to tingle. Can you feel that?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the energy. That's the chi energy, the life force energy of the universe. I'm totally turned into it because I meditate. Now, once you feel that energy, why our fingertips? Because we're normally used to touching through our fingertips. I can do it through my toes. I do it through my belly. I can do it anywhere. But it's my body. But just this turn on in the beginning, fingertips. So can you feel that?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Definitely.
Now I want you to just have the intention, increase it. Notice how it increases? That energy, you're in control. You control the universal energies. It's amazing. But we only have a limited ability because we say, okay, I want to write a book. The energy comes to you. The inspiration is that energy. And then we don't. Then we sit down and we don't use that energy. So that becomes frustration, procrastination. Behind it is frustration, it's disappointments, it's fear. So feel the energy of any block in your life. Think about something you're holding back somewhere. And first you feel the energy. Now for me, how I do it, I call on the higher power. I just think it's so beautiful because that spiritual connection. I'm going to use the term God. It could be higher power. It could be Jesus, Muhammad, whoever. But I just say, dear God, we open our hearts to you. Come, fill us with love and light. Now notice what happens to your fingertips. Feel that? It increases. Nod your head if it increased.
Yes.
Amazing, huh? It's because you acknowledge it's not just you here. You're not having to do this all alone. You're calling on the higher power. The universe is here to support you, not resist you. When you resist it, it resists you. It's a mirror of you. So, dear God, we open our hearts to you. Please come. Fill us with your love and light. Now, I'll do is I do this in the bathtub a lot. I'll say, use this water. Using this water, I'm thinking about water now. Just think about the ocean. Using this water, send your energy. See, Tesla, a great scientist, said everything is frequency, energy, and vibration. Frequency is something in nature, water, fire, air, whatever. Frequency, we just used water frequency, could be flower frequency. Fill us with your love and light. Use the water frequency. Using that frequency, send your energy. Now feel it coming. Nod your head if you feel that. Yeah, amazing, isn't it? You have this power right here. See, those old guys 50 years ago, they couldn't do this. It's because you have both your male and female sides. You can be masters of meditation. It took me years to do. You're doing right now. I couldn't do this in my 20s. So there we are, using the frequency, send the energy, and then activate my fingertips to receive the energy. That's the vibration. So you felt it right away. That's the vibration of the love and light of the universe. Come. Now, if you're in a bad mood, you sit there and feel that. That's so good. Listen to music, feel that, enjoy that, but do more with it. What you now do is open yourself up to receive more energy. How do you do that? Well, you're not receiving infinite energy now, which you're not. You're blocked. Energy you have blocked. So those are going to be your frustrations. You have disappointments. You have fears. You have regrets. So one of the easy ones to go deep the first time is just think about a regret. Go to the dark place inside yourself. Keep feeling the energy coming to you. And now we're saying to the universe, take away the blocked energy of my regrets. And let yourself go into a regret or feeling of guilt or shame. Just feel the energy of that. Let it go out your fingertips. Imagine it going out to the ocean. Sending it out of you by feeling it. Can you get a sense of energy going out?
Yes.
That's right. Energy going out. Just like if you were to breathe in light and love on the exhale through your fingertips, send out that old energy. The past is the past. I don't need to hold on to that. I'm an amazing person. I deserved another chance. Every great person gets there by making a lot of mistakes, a lot of setbacks. Take away this old energy of regret and guilt. Take it away. So now you're using your emotions, letting that blocked energy of negative emotions go out through your fingertips to the ocean. Now, if you're actually at the ocean, it's even more powerful. You got a crystal, so use the crystal, frequency of the crystal. But regret, guilt, shame, water works really good for that one. It's very fluid. Let it flow out. Now, you did that for a little while. Now, imagine you're letting energy flow into you and you're sending it out. Letting energy flow into you and sending it out. Imagine you have a closet and it's filled up with shirts, no more room for more. And you empty out all your shirts. Now you can go to the store and buy more shirts. So because you're emptying out, you can now receive back more. And what you receive back now, this is the third level. You're activated to receive what you can receive. You emptied out a bit. And now by continuing to empty out, you can sustain a flow. Now that's where you get to level 3, where you feel a flow of energy flowing in. And that's desire. Let yourself now feel what it is you want. Let your best self come forward and feel that energy filling you up. Imagine, feel what you want, and imagine it happening. You know, when I wrote Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, I wanted to be an author, successful author. 9 years before that, I wrote 2 other books, which were considered nobody wanted, although eventually they did want them. They didn't sell well. 2 books. Each time, every day I meditate, I want to be #1 best-selling author in the world. Even though that's completely unrealistic, I would never tell anybody out loud, but that's what I wanted. Who knew that I could actually become that? But that's what I wanted. So I just embraced whatever I want, no matter how fantastical it is, and imagine having it and pull that energy in. You feel that great energy coming in, isn't it amazing? And now as you feel that energy coming in, give it back. Imagine you got what you want, and now you just want to give back and say, thank you, thank you, thank you. And all the energy just float back, because you can keep throwing it back because it keeps coming in. It's the alchemy of meditation, taking the in and out and using it in various ways. Right now, we're just letting it stream out in feelings of gratitude. Now imagine your energy, you're emptying out, giving back everything. You're a millionaire, you're helping everybody you want to help them. The energy is flowing free because you have this nice bank account. Energy is always flowing into you. That was level 3. Now you can give it back. Give it back, give it back. And as you give back, you empty out. And now you're more empty, you can receive more. Such a beautiful meditation. So let's just imagine we have what we want. Come back in the present time. Take a deep breath. Rub your hands together. It's a nice way to say, okay, I'm ending this meditation. Let it be. And isn't that amazing? Tell me your experience and then we'll finish up.
It was fascinating. It was fascinating. For me, what touched me the most was with the ocean. I'm not sure why, but it that's where most of the energy came in. I'm not sure. I mean, perhaps it's genetic. Perhaps it's because I've been connected to the ocean recently. But that was fantastic.
Feel fantastic. You feel peaceful. Feel relaxed. Yeah. Feel good. Feel bright. How about the other?
I have to say though, it's difficult for me. When you said, whatever you desire, whether it was the #1 writer, I struggled to find exactly what I wanted.
Okay, let's focus on that being a technique. Another technique on that.
I had kind of the same issue as Alvaro.
Yeah. It's like we don't deserve. When I was told my family members I was going to go on TV, I wanted to write a book even. I remember meeting with them we're all in the living room in Texas, and I'm saying, I'm going to write a book on relationships. They all laughed. They can't see you. Your family usually can't see you as more than 10 years old. I still look at my children. I go, oh my God, I remember when she was 6 years old. It's a big adjustment to see them do better than you. It's very hard for people unless you're good at this. For me, it's always your success is my success. There's a guy named Reverend Ike. He used to talk back in my day, and he'd say, that's for me. Anytime you see somebody with success, a fancy car, a beautiful house, a freedom, pretty girlfriend, you go, that's for me. That's for me. That's for me. So having done that, next thing you do is every day practice writing out, not thinking. Writing out is different. What you want, and see if you can do 30 once in a minute. That's just random what I want. Let's just do it. I'll do one right now for you. Okay. I want my girlfriend back. She went to China. I want to feel super strong. I want to sell the ranch, make more money on that. I want to have beautiful relationships with my grandchildren. I want them to come to my pool more often. I want this fast to be so easy for me. It's so wonderful. I want my belly fat to really go away and feel that complete flexibility I had when I was a young yogi. Now, I'll never have that, by the way, but I can want that. See, the point is, don't think about how you're going to get something. Just feel what you want. Not reasonable, okay? It's just simply go for what you want. Now, eventually, life will help you make your desires so that what comes out of you is actually what you can have. But when we're so lost from ourselves, what we want is often the wrong things. We want things that are not really possible for us, because every desire has the seed inside of a pure desire. We'll call it a pure desire. I call it a soul's desire as well. Is the knowledge of how to get it, and the confidence comes. But you want to just be able to see how many things you can say, I want. If you have only 10 things in a minute, just write it out. Just take a minute, write out, I want. And don't show it to anybody, because they go, who are you to think that? Or how can you get that? And don't question yourself how you're going to get it. You got a whole lifetime to get it. So you're just setting the stage for your lifetime. So give yourself permission to just start exploring. I want. We don't do that in our culture, because part of this whole thing is when you're growing up as a child, if you want more, you're seen as selfish. Every time you're throwing a tantrum or being upset, you're saying, I want more. And we're taught, no, you can't feel that. You shouldn't feel that. We're family. As opposed to my daughter says, hey, I want shoes like that. And I say, well, that's great. That'd be wonderful. We can't afford it, but it's great to want it. You deserve it. I remember one of my daughters saw she was 15, and she saw a convertible Mustang as sort of a sports car. And she says, I want that. And I could easily afford it, but you don't give a child the best car when they're going to wreck it, or they're going to bump it up.
Yeah.
So I didn't say, what, you can't have that. I said, wow, I'm sure one day you'll have that beautiful car if you keep wanting it. That's for sure. It's just, that's the magic, is feeling the desire and the patience for it to manifest if it's right for you. If it's not right for you, it will naturally adjust to what is right for you. But you never want to edit to yourself, to look inside, what is it you want? And this goes way back in time to every religion tells you to hold back your wants. Buddhism, detachment, not wanting anything. That's the ideal state. You shouldn't want more. Christianity, we want to give to others, shouldn't think of yourself. No, you should think of others, but also think of yourself. It's a balance in life. The Greeks also called it the Pandora's box. If you remember, the Pandora's box is you open this box and demons come out. So don't open that box. Well, what is that box? That box is listening to your desires. Because as soon as you say, I want more, then you start feeling frustrated, disappointed, angry, you start comparing, who's got more? I've got less, I want more. It creates a whole host of problems. So if you want to live a old-fashioned life, suppress all your wants. If you want to live a modern life where your dreams can come true, get in touch with your wants, but be patient to have them manifest. First, listen to them. And then when you feel those wants, you'll start to feel the disappointments and the frustrations to achieve those wants. And then if you learn how to let go of those negative emotions, then you can come back to wanting it again. You don't have to deny the wants. There's a foundation of my message is a story my mother told me as a child. It's the Aesop's Fable. It's my favorite one. And it's a wonderful book. And it talks about something called sour grapes. Is the fox wanted those grapes. He saw them. He was running after them. He's all excited. I'm going to get the grapes. I'm going to get the grapes. But there's a fence up. He can't jump over the fence to get them. You know, he keeps trying and trying. I'm going to get those grapes. Finally, he couldn't get over the fence. So he said, oh, I don't care about those grapes anyway. They're probably sour. So that's sour grapes. That's where that expression comes from. It's sour. I don't need that. I don't need that. And so many people today, they're all living in denial of what they truly want and need. And so then that energy gets blocked of desiring because we see things, we want them. Then they have their addictions, and their addictions burn it off. Every time you masturbate, you're giving away your power. Every time you're overeating, you're giving away your power. Every time you're yelling and screaming, you're giving away your power. And all that stuff, people are just losing it. Their lives don't get better. But if one technique is just don't talk, don't push it down, many people can be content. That's one lifestyle. But today, your generation, we want more. We want passion. We want accomplishment. We want to achieve. We want to have a better life. And in doing that, we want more. We have to learn how to manage desiring more. That's a big thing. Mm-hmm. And that's my book, just for people reference. Real simple book on that one is the first book I wrote this is called Feelings First. It got redone as What You Feel You Can Heal. That's learning to manage your emotions. It's a real practical guide to dealing with the emotions inside. It's also in the book Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. It's in all my books, basically. Towards the end that most people don't get to is emotional management. Because that's the second step. If you want a better life, you've got to understand gender differences, understand what makes you happy, women have to understand what makes them happy, then how we can come together. But once we come together, we have to recognize that we're all animals. We're controlled by these forces inside of us. Every time you're emotionally upset, it's because some childhood conditioning is telling you to see the world in the wrong way. All our emotions are how we interpret reality. And because we're children, we interpret reality the way our parents did. You can't escape that. All you can do as you get older now in your 20s is start to observe it, reflect on it, and don't act on it. Recognize that this is the monkey part of you. Because where did they get those conditionings? From their parents. And where did they get it? From their parents and their parents. Back to the ancestral monkeys. Yeah. So we're all like monkeys on one level. But once you get into your 20s, particularly, you start gaining the ability to self-reflect. Mm-hmm. And meditation will improve that ability dramatically for you so that you can have reactions and then stop and question, why am I feeling this? What is it that I'm wanting? Why am I reacting like this? How could I react differently? This is the whole process of self-realization, which is your opportunity when you're in your 20s. Most people never get it.
Why does it come in the 20s and not before?
Because the brain hasn't developed yet. The prefrontal cortex doesn't fully develop until you're 28. It starts around 21 to 28 is the beginning of your ability to self-reflect and change your conditioning. See, you can't change your conditioning before that. You think you're in charge, you're not. You're run by hormones and reactions and conditioning, and you have this automatic reaction. You know, if you're mean to me, I'll be mean to you. It's revenge. What is revenge? One of the stupidest things in the world. It's an eye for an eye. Gandhi said, an eye for an eye, everybody's going to go blind, you know? It's what the stupidity of America did. When 9/11 happens, we start wars. That was the stupidest thing ever. We could have all come together in compassion for America. How do we solve this problem? Why do people want to hurt us? Solve the problem. No, there are these crazy people on the radio saying, oh, they want to bomb, they want to hurt us, we're going to bomb them. You know, who are you going to bomb? You don't even know who you're going to bomb. 12 guys? You know, what is this insanity that we live in this world? So, you know, I got a little far off there, but it's fun to do. It's like we really have this monkey brain that just reacts to things. And once you have sex, by the way, another problem when you start having sex with a girl is then when she starts going through her estrogen surges, when her estrogen drops, she gets in a bad mood, sees everything as negative, unless she knows a new way. I teach a new way. But if she doesn't, then she starts complaining and criticizing and judging and withholding and telling you you're doing the wrong things. So when she starts doing that, your brain, because you had sex with her, will mirror it back. You have no control. Okay. It will mirror it back. Her bad conditioning becomes your bad conditioning once you're having sex. And that's all science too. That's the science of mirror brain. The brain is monkey see, monkey do. And if you're in fight or flight, which means your hormones aren't in balance, and everybody's aren't today, generally speaking, they're out of balance, as I've talked about. You're going to be in a low to high level of fight or flight. And whenever you're in a level of fight or flight, fake or fold, there's differences to it, blood flow stops to that prefrontal cortex of your brain. So that's where many men have stunted brains, basically because they didn't have freedom in their 20s to self-reflect. They had to go right into earning a living and pleasing other people, okay, instead of pleasing themselves. It's a part of self-discovery. Find your freedom, who you want to be, who you are, what you feel, how you react. Don't let your reactions control you. And people listen to me and they go, man, he just had it all together, great childhood. I didn't have it all together, all right? So even after I did 9 years of meditation, I still had anxieties. It wasn't until I started looking at my unconscious programming from childhood that I got rid of all anxiety. The first time I stood in front of a little group of people to teach meditation, I fainted.
Wow.
They thought I died. I had so much anxiety. It was terrible. And the only reason I thought maybe this is just the wrong occupation for me. But the Beatles, I read an article with John Lennon of the Beatles. The Beatles only toured for 3 years and they stopped touring. They got so famous. And the reason John Lennon said he stopped touring, he had so much anxiety before every performance. Unbelievable anxiety. Because see, the more you have to lose. And his own programming from childhood, and he wrote a whole book on this. He had all this anxiety. It never went away for him. He didn't know how to process it, but he stopped touring so his life wasn't crazy. And that's what you have to get is anxiety. It's unconscious, it's there, but it doesn't mean if you decide you're going to do something and have fear that it's the wrong thing for you to do. Because I knew when I read that interview, I said, well, of course, for John Lennon, being an entertainer was his life's destiny. And he had all that fear. So just because you have fear doesn't mean that you're doing the wrong thing. Often it means you're doing the right thing. But then you have to learn how to process that fear. Because if I was to and this happened for me after I'd been a monk for 9 years, I was broke, I was homeless, I didn't have any money. Now, my parents live in River Oaks. I could have asked them for money, but I was too proud at that time. And I was expecting God to do it. Hey, I'm this holy man. Why am I? Nothing came. I'm homeless on the beach. It was horrible. It was painful. But then finally I said, Mom, I need some money. And she said, oh, well, I'll give you money if you go back to school and learn something, a trade. So I went and learned computer programming. And I became a good programmer at Stanford University and Stanford Research Institute at Stanford University, because my brother worked there. He just gave me a job. Mm-hmm. And I was really good at it. I made a lot of good money at it, but it wasn't, and I had no anxiety about it because that's not what I'm born to do. See, if I had born to do and I fail, see, when you're born to do something and you fail at it, then you're really going to feel like a failure. But if you do something that's not what you're born to do, you don't feel as much anxiety. So I remember I did that. And the only reason I stopped is because it wasn't the thing my destiny was about. I had so much pain in my shoulders. It was easy for me to do. I made good money. I had to stop. I just said, my body's telling me this is not what you're supposed to do. But I saved up my money so I could start doing what I was supposed to do, which I began teaching my own classes. Mm-hmm. And it's a fun thing to say, because I've been celibate for 9 years. The classes I taught were on sex. People say, how do you become a sex expert? I say, when you haven't had sex for 9 years, you become very interested in sex.
Yeah.
And so what I was able to do, which I'll pass on to you, I wrote a book called Mars, Venus in the Bedroom. The things I learned back then is what I could do, because I'd been a monk, I was 29 years old, traveling around, and women were very attracted to me being the spiritual guy. And I was also rather famous as a TM teacher of teachers. So I could get laid quite easily. I'd start out by reading their palms and we'd end up in bed that night. And I said to them, I've been a monk for 9 years and haven't had sex. And I really don't know how to make a woman happy in the bedroom. Will you teach me your body? So, for you, if you go to a woman, she says, you're supposed to know. I shouldn't have to tell you. But because they had such admiration for my spirituality, and two, because I didn't know anything or pretended to, because I was learning a lot, but I would go, I need to know your body. So I got to spend a year listening to women teach me about what makes sex great for them. And I learned so much. I said, why not teach seminars on this? And so I'd bring people together and I'd let them all talk about it. First, I'd talk about it for a while. They feel safe. Then they would all start talking. Because who gets to talk about, what are your best sexual experiences? What makes it great? What makes it a problem? What's your favorite? What do you need most? Those are all the ideas I put out in my book, Mars, Venus in the Bedroom. It's sex education, and it's the basics. Every guy should read that book and not learn from the internet and porn and all that crazy stuff. It's a foundation of healthy, vital, pure, great sex, and also you ejaculate. The advanced course has become Baryshnikov, where you learn the Pleiades. And one other technique I wanted to teach, because you're a young guy, so I just can't stop waiting to share this with you. You take a brick, okay, just like a brick. You know this technique?
I was listening to the podcast you did with Dave Asprey this morning.
Oh, okay.
So,
all right. Yeah,
no, go ahead. Okay.
So you take a brick and you wrap it with a towel so it's not rough. No. And you put it between your legs, close up to your jewels, not too close. And now on your thighs. And you're squeezing that, holding that brick up. And you're exercising the muscles in your leg, basically. Maybe
a dumbbell or something? Because like a
brick.
Okay.
Dumbbell, it doesn't have that substance to push. It needs to push your legs apart as you're squeezing in. See, there's a squeezing in that you also do when you do plies, but also this is super, because you practice it, you squeeze it in, you can't contract your anus very well. So you want to practice using those muscles without constricting the anus to suck the energy down instead of going up. So then you just practice standing only 3 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes, whatever. And you just practice thrusting into the air. You just do a thrust exercise, holding that brick tight. Mm-hmm. You'll see how your posture will change for about 5 minutes. You'll walk like a girl because your whole energy will be loosened up down there. And then you'll come back to walking like a guy, but actually looks like a stud, really, because you're looser down there. You can see how I can watch anybody walk and I can tell you how long they can last in sex.
No.
Tight ass. When a man has a tight ass, he's going to squirt. Anyway, so that's the brick technique. So brick technique and Pleiades, go to a ballet teacher, learn how to do that move. Don't feel like being a ballet makes you a wimp. The superstar of sex on this planet was Baryshnikov, so you can learn from him. Those muscles need to be really strong. So ultimately, you want your whole body to be engaged in the process of making love. Then, okay, now you've learned, you had your exercises, masturbating, so you got 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes without having to ejaculate. It's much harder if you're putting it in a woman, because suddenly, as soon as you touch her, your estrogen levels shoot up. I mean, like electricity goes up. So it's a little harder. So then what you practice is, you want more? You might have to make this 2 parts.
Yeah, we'll do a part 2. I think we're going to do a part 2.
You want more?
Bonus.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, all right. So just touching the vagina for some men is already causing them to squirt. Too much energy, too much estrogen. So you basically go slow. You want kissing first until she's doing French kissing. You got to open up her mouth before her vagina opens. Next, you see, if her vagina hasn't opened and you're all excited, your energy goes into her and it stops. See, she's got to be wide open, energetically, liquid, fluid, wanting you for your energy to go in. If you're not wanting it, it just gets blocked and you squirt out. Mm-hmm. So that's the first thing, kissing, then touching the top part of the body, then getting to the breast, then getting to the belly. We're talking, for a lot of women, who don't know how to orgasm, that could be 20, 30 minutes, okay? And then you get to the clitoris. A lot of guys don't touch the clitoris long enough. That's going to have to be for some women who can't be orgasmic so easily, that's 18 minutes, okay? After you've warmed them up here and you've got lubrication down there, and what you can do for fun is, everybody touches the clitoris with their finger. Use the tip of your penis and just rub. If she's really open, you're not going to feel like you have to squirt if you're going to be touching. So now using your penis to stimulate her clitoris, and she'll have an orgasm. Okay, that's her first orgasm. Mm-hmm. Then you start circling around the vagina with your penis. You don't just go all the way in. Now, I'm a master at this. If I just go straight in, I'm ready to squirt. Don't go straight in. And some guys go, I can go straight in the last 2 minutes. Yeah. But I'm called estrogen surging and testosterone. And it's this, you have to slowly let the energies mingle to go to the highest levels. So it's a matter of going in like an inch. Now, once she's had one orgasm with her clitoris, then you go in an inch and a half. And basically, if you put your finger in there, you'd rub back towards her clitoris, and you'd feel that there's this coin, like a quarter. That's the G spot. It opens up. It comes out. It literally, you feel it. The texture of it is not smooth like the rest of the vagina. It's a little rough. And then So now you press on that and press on that. Now the best thing is have your penis pressing on that, but that part of them needs pressure, pressure, pressure. And she can let you know with feedback by softer, softer, harder, harder. But that's her second orgasm. And she'll have a wonderful G-spot orgasm if you first give her the clitoral orgasm. Now, if you can't last a long time to give her that G-spot orgasm, give her one with your finger. Okay, put 2 fingers in and 1 finger in there, get in there and rub on it, rub on it, rub it on it. She'll have an orgasm. Second orgasm, at that point, she's really open. You can go deeper with your penis. Then you go deeper than the G-spot. Never go so deep. It's too much energy. Your body's not open to that because your energy goes into her. It has to come back into you. So as you're fucking her, okay, you're going in slowly but surely, you're getting deeper and deeper. Different positions are great because one of the things about different positions allows you break time. See, that's the whole point, 28 different positions. It's break time 28 times. What happens if you look at all the tantric texts and all of the Chinese Taoism thing, they have all these positions. What are they for? They're because you never stay in one position too long, or you as a man, you're going to ejaculate. So you're just sitting there in one position going along, you ejaculate. So what you practice is immediate withdrawal. As soon as you see the squirt coming, you come out instantly as fast as possible. Now that triggers a woman often into having an orgasm. Because see, if you're connecting with a woman and you suddenly pull away, she wants to grab you. And wanting to grab you is a surge of estrogen. So don't think like, oh, I have to slowly come out. No, just pull out fast. Just jerk out. Now, if you do it too late, you'll ejaculate. So you have to get that timing down to where you go, okay, pull out. And then now you're ready to go. And each time you do the next position, you can last longer and longer and longer until then you can go on as long as you want until she's mindless and says, I'm dying. And then you can stop. It's so wonderful for her. And at that point, you have no attachment to ejaculation. You're free from the need to ejaculate. Her orgasm becomes your orgasm. There's a sense of oneness that happens there. It's a different kind of orgasm. It's not an ejaculation. It's not an ejaculation. You know, there's books written about having ejaculation. Okay. Then you won't have passion after that. If you don't have passion after that, you lost your energy. You can go anytime you can have sex. Not that you want to, because you won't do other things in your life, but you can, that's the power you have as a man. But it's like you have to go to the gym and work out and do it right. Yeah. The first step is what I mentioned, giving up that addiction to ejaculating and doing other things that build up your testosterone. So that was all fun. I enjoy giving that talk.
That was amazing.
Yeah. I wish somebody given me that talk.
I'm a bit speechless, brother.
Yeah, I get it. My gosh, as a teenager, I would love this information. Nobody told me this stuff.
Yeah.
Why is this not in healthcare high school class? You know,
because they don't know it. They're not. Half the people who are married never have sex anymore. They don't have sex, right. And the ones that they don't know it. This knowledge is not known because you're the generation who can put it into practice. You see, what you have is this access. As men, you have access to your female side, and if you can balance the female energy, which is connecting with her, but make sure you bring it back into you. You have masculine and feminine together, you can go higher. All genius is whenever you happen to go into balance inside yourself, your inner genius comes forward. And so that's the great news about this great transition into, a world of equality between men and women. Gives permission for women to be more masculine, men to be more feminine, but we have to keep it in balance and not lose our femininity. Where do
you see like right now at this stage that we're in, like 2020, where do you see us heading towards as a species? Because I've heard you say like our generation is maybe becoming a bit more conscious, more evolved. What do you think waits for us, in the future?
Okay. So we're at a dire time. The greater the darkness, the greater the light. There's a spiritual concept that light cannot come into the world. More light cannot come in unless there's a crack, that you have to make a mistake to learn something new. Okay. There's a darkness opens the way. That's why in the meditation, you're sending out your darkness. You're becoming aware of that which is not you, sending it out. Then you can receive more. There's big problems happening in the world today. There's always been darkness ruling this planet, and there's always been light, in a sense, kind of a battle between light and dark. And it's getting really powerful now. Now, the answer to this in my meditations, what I see is corruptness happens when you have more power, one, and you have secrecy. See, right now, we don't even, in America, for example, and I'm sure in Spain too, you can't trust your politicians.
Absolutely.
They're all liars. And history, you can't trust it either. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you knew all the things the Catholic Church did during the Dark Ages, you think, how could these be spiritual people? You know, they burned alive all these women who were just trying to do herbal mixes and help people, and men who are doing the same thing. They call them witches and anti-God, you know. And today, you know, one of the things at my website I teach is natural supplements for normal problems. And there's so many people like that. And FDA, they want to make it illegal. The American government wants to make that illegal. And the only way you can get anything for your health has to be go through a doctor who's trained for medical patented substances to make money. Yeah. You can't be in charge of your own health. They have to be in charge of your own health. That's dependence. They want to create division between men and women. They want to create division between black and white. They want to create division between East and West. Why? Because that keeps them power. Power comes from keeping everybody divided. If we're in danger, then we're dependent on the government. I mean, like right now, all I hear in America with the COVID virus, over and over, the mantra, we can't wait for the vaccination. Can't wait for the vaccination. We're powerless without the vaccination. You know what they should be saying every time is, folks, you're going to die of COVID. You're going to die of COVID if you're overweight. Did you know that? You're going to die. You need to start practicing during this epidemic, this particular diet. You need to lose weight. Otherwise, you will die. This is going to pass through. It's for certain it's passing through, and you're going to die if you're overweight. So this is things you can do. Are you doing your exercise every day? Are you getting in 15 minutes of aerobic exercise? If you have high blood pressure, did you know that if you take certain high blood pressure medicines, you're now more receptive to the virus of killing you? So they don't tell you that. As soon as they did a study that showed that if you're taking blood pressure medicines, boom, then there's all flood on the internet of studies says, no, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. You shouldn't give up your blood pressure medicine. Of course you should give up your blood pressure medicine with your doctor's approval. Go talk to mommy and daddy about it, showing them, hey, you know what? I found out that I can have normalized my blood pressure by meditating. Proven. Do meditation, proven. Do dance, proven. Do singing, proven. Do lose weight, proven. So many things, and take certain supplements, proven to lower your blood pressure. But you're too lazy to do it because you're not motivated, because somebody's going to say, oh, we're going to save you with our vaccination. Vaccination, flu vaccine has only worked 50% of the time. You know, don't let mommy and daddy control you. You're grown-ups now. The government doesn't control your health. You control your health. Don't let them wipe you out. Don't let them cause you to cause problems. Don't let you buy into their secrecy. Realize we need the truth. Now, I'll tell you, in my work, I find my audience where I have to teach the most. This is just fun for me to reveal a little bit of what I know. The truth is, and John F. Kennedy said it, he said, we're going to end secret societies. Is that this world is run by secret societies. This is John F. Kennedy, President of the United States, who was 2 weeks later assassinated.
Yeah, the Masons.
Well, we have all the theories and the whole thing, and I'm not going to be the expert on that. That's not my life mission. Mm-hmm. But what I know is the secrecy that rules the darkness of the world is the secrecy that starts between men and women. We withhold, we hide, we don't know how to communicate. Either we communicate and argue and end, or we hold it all inside. What we need to change this world is to be naked before our partners, emotionally naked, mentally naked, and capable of hearing each other. If a woman wants to be naked with a man, you have to prepare him. You can't just throw out your feelings on him. You have to first say, is this a good time? You have to let him know that he's doing a good job, making you happy, and you know he's doing his best and it's good enough. And then you say exactly what happened without any emotions attached to it, the objective scenario, what actually happened, what was said, what was done. Then say, and that made me feel all these feelings, and I felt those feelings because it triggered my unresolved, unconscious feelings of my monkey person inside. So it's not about you. And I'm sorry I have all these feelings about you because I know that you're this wonderful guy. And now you're back to, you apologize for dumping this negativity. Then you appreciate him once again. And then you got a man who says, I can hear anything you say if you do that. And you have no secrecy. See, we secretly seek to control. We use secrecy to control. We have to give up control. And we have to recognize that there's forces in this world that will always control us and seek to control us. And we have the power within ourselves at home to change the consciousness of the planet by not being holding back within ourselves. We have to learn how to be authentic and naked. Now, when it comes to that, I don't want the men to go around doing this. What I want the men to do is make it safe for women to do this. Because if you can make it safe for a woman to do this, you're providing the most important thing she needs. And then you're being a man. You're providing what she needs on an emotional level. And if you give to her your own female side is nurtured, you don't need to do that. You don't need to talk about your feelings. You don't need to ask for more. You always get more, but you have to give more. So you give to her what she needs. She will feel so much love for you, which is the thing you need the most. And what she needs is to feel that somebody can hear me. When we have relationships where people feel heard and seen, and then at a certain point, I don't want to say men should never share how they feel, whatever. It's when a woman feels heard, then it's fine for you to share what's inside. Don't you dare share any of your feelings, particularly if they're negative, if a woman doesn't feel safe and heard and understood and so forth. That's foolishness. It's not understanding polarity. It's like, well, she shared, I'm going to share. No. I'll tell you one wonderful story I learned about myself as a man, self-reflection. So I'm teaching back when first few years of my marriage with Bonnie. You know, I'm the successful therapist. I know you listen to women. It makes them feel better. I'm teaching these ideas. So I thought I'm going to let my wife really vent, and I'm going to practice holding back from any reaction. And so she went on for an hour, almost like a therapy session, of blaming me and blaming her life, why she was unhappy. And I said, just tell me more. Help me understand that better. But inside, there's another part of me. I'm ready to argue every point. You know, if they say you never do this, we go, well, you never do that. Well, you didn't do this. Well, why are you asking me to do that? You don't do this. There's always tit for tat in our monkey brain. Mm-hmm. So there was tit for tat happening, but I was keeping my reaction private, which we can do as men, by the way. Our brains are more designed for that. We have less connective tissue in the brain, so we can hold on to that longer. So I'm holding on to it, but I'm getting really angry, thinking, how can this wife, you know, we got this house and kids and family, I'm a great husband, be so unhappy about stuff. And I'm holding it back, and I'm ready like a lawyer, you know, ready to like defend myself after an hour. So then I say to her, so have you expressed, do you feel fully heard? She says, yes, it's amazing. I feel like you really understand me. I said, thank you. Now, I also have some feelings. Would this be a good time for me to share my feelings? And I had a lot of negativity ready to spout out. And she says, I said, so would this be a good time? And she said, no, this isn't a good time. I'm like, what? I just listened to you for an hour. I don't get to talk now. But I kept that inside because I have control. I control my emotions. And I said, well, when do you think would be a good time? And she says, I don't know. But right now, I just want to bask in the sunshine of your love. And I'm like, that's like the ultimate compliment, right? My wife feels totally loved by me. And I'm like, what just happened? She wants to bask in the sunshine of my love. I was shocked. I mean, it stunned me. How could this be? She just complained about her life and me and all this stuff. And now she wants to bask in the sunshine of my love. She felt so loved. Yeah. So I accept that. So I question it. You know, I always like to learn from things. And I watched her. And then she says, you know, I'm going to make your favorite dinner, chicken and mashed potatoes and peas. I feel so good. How does she feel so good? She just battered me. And now she wants to do something nice for me. So then she in the kitchen, and literally my perception of her at that point, she was beautiful. She was radiant. And she started singing, which normally she doesn't do. I love when she sings. She has a beautiful voice. She started singing. And I imagined so clearly little bluebirds flying around her in a Disney movie. Okay. It was like, what happened? Okay. Then the kids come for dinner. We're all eating dinner. I still have like half my estrogen. I'm angry. I'm still angry. Okay. I don't just disappear like that, but it was going down and down, and I'm being, you know, friendly and nice, but inside I'm still like, she said this, she said this, she said this. The mind holds on to that, but I'm more calm. Then we get into the bed that night, and I'm turning out the light. I'm all curled up on my side. I'm still angry with her to a great extent. She goes over and she goes to her drawer where she has her sexy lingerie. She's putting on her sexy lingerie. I said, "What are you doing?" She said, "You know." I didn't say anything. I went, "I don't know if I want to have sex with her." I was sort of upset inside. And then she got into bed. There was a little silence, and she started to curl up next to me and touch me, and she put a hand on my thigh, and then that took over. We made love. Next morning, I woke up.
Did you try to resist?
Well, in the morning, I woke up, and she woke me up, and she says, "Are you awake, honey?" I said, "Yes. Last night, you said you wanted to talk about your feelings. Would this be a good time? What is it that's bothering you?" And my experience in that moment was, nothing is bothering me. If you are sexually satisfied as a man, nothing bothers you. And that's what I learned. I did not need to talk about my feelings. I did not need to argue about things. We men get so petty defending ourselves to be right, to be worthy of love, when actually, if you just earn it in that moment, they come back to loving you. It's like they have no memory when they're stressed of all the good things you do. But then if you let them invent it and you don't react, making them wrong, then suddenly they remember all the good things that you do and you get what you want. So I call that the love guarantee. If I don't react to her negativity, there's a love guarantee for me. It's like I know for sure I'm going to get highly paid for this job. And men don't, I didn't know that about myself. I thought I had to share my feelings in order to feel better. When I realized I had to get laid and then I would feel better.
Wow, John. This has been the most enriching conversation I've had in my 22 years of living.
That's good. That's good. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? I'm just so happy you guys are young guys passing on some of the wisdom that I've gained.
Yes.
And I think probably we should close this now.
Yeah, we're going to wrap up. But before we get to the closing segment that we always do, where can people find you? Plug in wherever you think best.
Oh, okay. So if you'd like more from John Gray, I have a website, marsvenus.com. I have 100 blogs on relationships. My daughter's probably got about 60. That's Lauren Gray. She's 32. She teaches, her biggest audience is guys, actually, but women come, of course, because she teaches guys how to make women happy, teaches women how to make men happy, which is ironic. It's like guys are more interested in making women happy than women are interested in making guys happy. Women are interested in being happy, and that's okay. So that's available. I've got an insiders club where I've got 100 different seminars for pennies. Basically, you become a member and you have access to my 100 different talks on, like 2-hour talks. We did a seminar today on all these different topics, and I've written all these books on. It's a wonderful resource for people. And another thing that in Spain you may not have access to, because they already have this ruling in Europe, which is they've been slowly enforcing on you that you can't get access to therapeutic natural supplements. See, it's like the Catholic Church coming in and burning you alive. I have friends that put in jail for recommending vitamin D, supplements. Okay, so they're starting to come down on you, and so it's very hard for you to find health food stores with therapeutic doses of vitamins and herbs. And they want to put you in jail here if you actually claim to have a therapeutic dose. Nearby me, there's a place called the Buck Institute where they deal with Alzheimer's. And they found a cure for Alzheimer's. It's just a very difficult cure. But 8 out of 10 people, it's a small study, but 8 out of 10 people with Alzheimer's completely regressed it. And they did it by a wide range of stacking a lot of nutritional supplements, going on ketogenic diet, doing 1 or 2 meals a day within an 8-hour period, doing meditation, doing aerobic exercise. They really did a massive rehabilitation with about 30 different supplements, and they reversed it. So I went online, I did a talk on that, and FTC came and shut me down. So at my health food store, I couldn't use my bank to handle the credit cards. They just cut me off. Now I was able to find a smaller bank to do it again. And they told me they did a special on national TV that I was selling. I'm a drug dealer. That's what they called me, a drug dealer, because I said, you can take these supplements for Alzheimer's and it will help. And you can buy many of those supplements at my website. And that's why they put it on national TV and called me a drug dealer.
Wow.
Because what they consider is anything which has a therapeutic dose. And they also said in that show, and I want people to know this, how tricky they are. The interviewer said, so you mean supplements and all this health stuff can't protect us? Oh, they laughed. No way. You need vaccinations for that. But we don't have one yet for Alzheimer's. Then they said, so everybody's wasting money buying supplements? And they said, complete waste of time. But isn't there scientific research? And this is what they said. There's absolutely no scientific research that these supplements and herbs and nutritional strategies has helped anyone unless there's a condition. Now, what did you just hear there? You heard you should throw it away. It doesn't work. You should only depend on your doctors. But actually what he said was accurate. There is no research on anything to help you unless there's a condition. All research to be valid has to be, what condition do you have? How did you improve that condition? There's 10,000 studies showing that vitamin D, vitamin E, these foods, these herbs, these things improve your libido, improve your sleep, improve your mood. You don't need any of these drugs. You can be healthy, natural. People did this for centuries. Even if you're a monkey, you can do this. They want to take it away. They want to make you dependent on them and not yourself. That's what it's all about. And when you believe their lies, this is another thing you should be wary of as you're developing your brain in your 20s. To the extent you believe a lie, you lose your ability to know your inner truth. Now, Hitler was the master of this. He said, if you want to really fool the people, tell a bigger lie. The bigger the lie, the more foolish they become. And tell it over and over and over, and they will believe it. And they will depend on it. Because you lose your own inner knowing when you depend on a lie. Part of this whole, the fake news is really fake. It's fake on the left, it's fake on the right, it's fake out of the mouth of the guy who says it's fake news. You really don't know what's true anymore. Mm-hmm. And that forces us on an evolutionary development to depend more on ourselves for what's true. And what people are seeing now is by believing in the liars, they're suffering. And that's what's happening right now. We've been believing in the liars and we're suffering. And suffering, unfortunately, is the only way for ignorant people to wake up. Suffering is a part of life until you wake up. When you wake up, then it's just emotional pain. And all emotional pain is caused by you, what you think. So change your thinking and you have no suffering and you have no pain. And you can open your heart. And that's balancing your male-female hormones. And then you can feel and discover what your mission is. Because I know you don't know what your mission is. You may think you do. You won't know till you're about 28, really. Everything will change when you're 28. That's what happens. That's when this prefrontal cortex develops. Then you're ready to be thinking about somebody else for partnership. So I recommend don't get married till you're 28. You know, more divorces happen at the age of 28 than any other time.
Wow.
Why is that?
I did not expect that.
Because it's so easy when you're in love with somebody, their happiness is the source of your happiness. You are the source of your happiness. And if you make them happier, then you're happier. That's the whole thing to it. You can't depend on somebody else. You got to find it inside yourself first.
That's a mic drop right there. And one of the final questions that we have for you is, it's really tying into everything you've been saying, because the name of this podcast is the Energy Model. And for us, we've defined energy as the untapped sources of internal energy that we all hold to unveil spiritual, mental, and physical capabilities. What is that in your life that unleashes that energy?
Well, authentic self-expression. Following my heart was the foundation of it. I have to go through different ages, but the source of my energy started in my 20s, where everything was self-sufficiency, self-reliance, and discipline. Following through, educating myself. For me, a lot of that was my journey, was meditation. But ironically, after I became 28, I stopped teaching meditation all completely. I became an expert on relationship.
Hmm.
And what's very funny is that my guru, teacher, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, I was like his son. And he told me I was going to inherit the TM movement. That was my last conversation with him. He was passing it on to me when he got older. And at that point, it was kind of like, okay, I did my job here. I can't be happy teaching meditation if my brother is suffering bipolar. That's why I went back to school. I went back to study psychology and became a relationship expert. And now the irony is that when he would answer people's questions, if they ask relationship questions, he'd say, I'm a monk. It's not my department. It's the one thing he didn't know became the thing I became an expert at. And often our mentors, we become, part of getting a master's degree is being able to master somebody else's thinking. It's very good to do. That's why if you want piano, you want to master what other people have done. Anything, master where your interests are. Master that, learning from a teacher, someone who's good, someone who's a great role model for you. So you master what they can do. Like I could give every talk he ever gave. I could be him. I mean, so easy. And then find your own voice after you've mastered somebody else's voice. And that's called PhD. PhD is your independent expression, your independent study, something based upon what you've learned. And don't rush that. That's after 28. It's up to 28. You want to master what's here. There's so much brilliance around. I mean, there's so much to know. So many things I don't know, but I don't have the interest in mastering being a guitar player. I tried. It wasn't my thing.
Yeah.
So we all have our abilities, but this is the time of exploration and to follow your heart. So that's the first source of energy, is following your heart. When you follow what other people tell you and it doesn't feel right to you, you just lost energy. You have a reservoir of energy inside. Procrastination is one of the number one things that blocks your energy. And then addiction's another thing that just wipes out your energies. Addiction is any substance that makes you feel good that doesn't make you feel good later. So if you eat too much ice cream, then you don't feel good later, you get fat. That's not a good thing for you to do. Maybe a little ice cream's fine, but not all the time. Okay, so you find your moderate way. And for me, I have to find everything my own. I don't listen to anybody. Okay, I listen, I study, I listen, but it's not true until I find it true in my own life. So in a sense, don't believe anybody. And most important, don't believe what you feel. Now, that's a big counter idea here today, particularly women. Well, I feel hurt. That's absolutely true. It is absolutely true that you feel hurt. But why do you feel hurt? Because you think I don't love you? Well, that's not true. Anytime your feelings are negative or painful, they're lies. Don't believe what you feel. Think that time. Think and learn from your life's activities. You're your teacher at this time of life, nobody else.
So if we have elevated emotions, do we trust those emotions? The elevated
never.
One?
Negative, elevated positive, sometimes okay, but usually it's also misleading if it's really elevated. But it's the negativity. It's a lie. It's all a lie. It's us believing in the lie. And when we believe a lie, unfortunately, it's addictive. Okay. Believing in a lie makes you powerless. When you're powerless, you're in fear, and fear is a major generator of dopamine. So the brain gets addicted to looking to messages that say we're powerless. That's why you sit in front of the TV set. I did that for a little while during this COVID thing to see what's going on. Oh, so many lies, so much lies. They're talking about all this stuff. They should be telling people what the solution is. To think that you don't have the power to stay healthy is nonsense. Viruses always pass through this world. Why are some people healthy? Why are some people getting it and no symptoms? They tell you that because they're healthy. So why don't they tell you, if you're sick, if you're overweight, if you're taking medications, the side effects of those medications makes you more vulnerable to getting sicker. That's known. They even say it. So let's protect the people in old folks' homes. Okay, good. Do that protection. But for you to be worried about it, if you are worried about it, you should slowly start going off those medications that make you more vulnerable. Do the things to make yourself healthy so that you're capable of not living in fear. So again, it's a big lie. We believe in the lies. We always become weaker inside of ourselves. We believe in the lie that China did this to us. This is like they call it the China virus. That's baloney. It's baloney. Whether it came from them or not, doesn't matter. It's not their virus. It's a virus in nature. Or maybe it was created in government labs, because we do have government labs that are constantly producing warfare viruses. That is a truth. And what they say is it escaped from one of those labs. You don't know what to believe. It's lies. What you believe is what's true for you. Always come back to what you feel, what's true to you. And if what you feel is positive and inspiring, makes you feel good, then you're closer to the truth of what to believe. Otherwise, you're buying into all they want to create division. They want to create fear. So many things are staged that our government does to create fear and division and so forth. And let's thank America. Oh, I don't want to go that far, but
Part three.
This is a black hole. This is another place to go. There's so much going on in this world. And see, I don't live in that world. I point out things to my wife. She'd say, "Oh, don't tell me about that. Don't tell me about that." I say, okay. Because I can know that demon exists on this planet, and so does the God. If they're both here together, and the light outshines the darkness. And I have a role, and you have a role. We all have a role in our lives to generate light. And then the world reflects you. Just always know that nothing happens outside of you that's not reflecting something going on inside of you, some lie that you believe. It's like that woman who shoots me the finger. Okay, that's her lie, that she thinks I'm a bad person. I'm not a bad person. That's her lie. She thinks I'm a bad person. She has no idea who I am. She might have even read my book and it changed her life. Now she doesn't like the way I drive and shoots me a finger. That doesn't matter to me. It's not about me. That's about them. The more the outer world determines how you feel, if it's negative, you create more negativity in your life. The more you generate a feeling of the world is here to serve me. Everything that happens to me is an opportunity to grow and ultimately becomes a gift when I discover what I learned from it, how I grew from it, how I became stronger. I'll give you one example of that. I was devastated. And I've been married before. For 2 years, I was married to Barbara DeAngelis. That's a big story. I'm not going to do the whole story, but here I am. I'm like 30 years old. I'm married for a couple of years. I'm teaching a class now that I've developed with her called Making Love Work. And suddenly my wife is having an affair with another man and doesn't want to be with me. So I've got to go out and teach a class on making love work when my wife doesn't want to be married to me anymore. And that's my livelihood. So in one blow, I was broke. I couldn't teach it. She wanted to keep teaching the class. Are you kidding? It'll be hypocrites. So I couldn't make any money. I was a failure. I thought I was a success until I found out she's out there humping this other guy, having a good time, and wants to leave me. So, I mean, that's her tendency. She's been married 6 times since then. So, that's her thing. But I took it personally. So my heart was broken. Oh, my heart was broken. And my livelihood was broken in one fell swoop. That was so shocking and so painful to me. I was devastated, kind of like a teenage romance where you get so emotional and everything. So we think it's the end of the world. Well, I felt it was the end of the world. And what that did is awaken inside of me unconscious experiences from my childhood that I'd forgotten. I didn't know were there. And those feelings were, I'd been I lost contact with my family for 7 days. I thought I would never see my family again. The truth is they knew where I was. They thought I was okay. They didn't know I was feeling devastated inside, and I wasn't telling anybody. But inside, I felt I would never see my family again. That was such a trauma to me, 7 days without my mother and my family. I was 6 years old. Didn't know if I'd ever see them again. Didn't like these people I was around. But then, it all happened. I got back with my family, forgot the whole thing. Nobody ever asked me how I felt, what was going on. It was all in the unconscious. Mm-hmm. Well, when my livelihood was gone and my love of my life rejected me for another man, it was devastated. Those feelings came up. Deep, deep insecurities came up. And then I could remember that experience. I could process those experiences. And lo and behold, I remember my mother, she came out to stay with me in California for 7 days. And I had a lot of famous celebrities who were my clients at the time. And I went to this party. One was dying. He had a goodbye send-off party. And I was there with he wanted me to come with all these celebrities, which already made me feel like they're so much more important than me. And I'm standing next to my mother at this event. And I realized for the first time, my mother was shorter than me. There was always some part of me that felt small and little because it'd been traumatized and frozen at that age. And the symptom of that, the way it affected my life, was feeling unimportant, but also feeling anxiety. And after about 3 months of processing that memory and those feelings, all my anxiety went away, and I've never had it since. And I'm the guy who, for 9 years as a meditator, if I was in front of an audience, I had anxiety. I was a John Lennon, huge anxiety. He never learned to heal his. Fortunately, I had psychology to help me process those inner feelings in a way that healed them. So our inner healing, that will particularly come up in your 30s. You can look forward to that in your 30s.
Perfect.
Right.
Amazing.
Right now, it's the self-reflection and processing what comes up in present time and knowing it's an illusion and it's a lie. Once you can pretty much handle your reactivity to what's happening now, that's when the past stuff comes up. And if you don't deal with it, then the world brings another problem and another problem and another problem that make you look at it. And people won't look at it. They don't want to look at it. And how do you not look at it? Is you blame other people for how you feel. Whenever you're blaming other people for how you feel, you're giving up the energy, because we're talking about energy, that you would have if you took absolute responsibility for your feelings, then nobody's stopping you. See, if you're causing me to not be able to do something, my energy is blocked. But if I'm responsible for how I feel about that, what I want to do and how I can do it, and my feelings of happiness and joy and fulfillment, I'm not depending on you, I'm depending on me for that, how I adapt to a situation, what I do about it. That's energy flow. So that's the 20s. That's being true to yourself. 30s, you're going to have to process deeper stuff. It will come up. It's always irrational. Every couple ever came to me in marriage, and I've seen thousands, okay? This is 40 years of counseling people. Everything that comes up is their childhood. If they think it's right now, but it doesn't say, hey, I'm your unresolved feelings that mom rejected me, was critical of me, or that dad wasn't happy with mom, or mom felt betrayed by dad. All that stuff affects us. It comes up as reactivity, sensitivities. That's where we have to now own them again. And then now you go to your 40s. Okay, your 40s is where your real power comes out. Okay, now you can actually share who you are with another person and feel love and connection. Your buttons, you don't have all these buttons anymore if you handle it. Then the world is a reflection of who you are. And for you to become bigger than who you are, the world gives you new challenges that you're able to take responsibility for and adapt and change and grow. And then you have your big impact into the world. So it goes on like that. And then you have new challenges in your life that at that point you have a sense of maturity, a sense of self, a sense of self-love. You've created abundance in your life. And then you see that the challenges that become before you are opportunities for you to give patience, to give grace, to give help, to give other people forgiveness and understanding, and not to hold things against them. You become an actual beaming being of light and wisdom. Love and wisdom is who you become. I'm fortunate in that I had the support to get to that place where wherever I go, I can beam my light. And I have this wonderful opportunity to just share with people the wisdom of my life with a place of unconditional love that goes along with it. And not so much unconditional love, but a place of compassion. Because everything is somewhat conditional in a relative world. But compassion is non-judgmentalness. To be so free of judgments and looking over my past and all the people. If you knew my past, you see how many people, when you become rich, cheat you. It's amazing. They just, those dark forces, they come, they steal, they cheat, they do things. The government does things, all this. You got to treat it like a feather touch, let it go, and be grateful that you have so much more than you had when you were younger. So your life is always going to be an upward thing. You get better and better at handling the challenges of life if you have aspiration. Nothing better than if you're going to, if you're going to become a master in life, there's a whole journey. Don't try to do it tomorrow. But there's a fun show I watch on Netflix. You have Netflix?
Yeah. Which
okay.
one?
It's called Handsome Siblings.
Handsome Siblings.
Every guy, this is about these two 18-year-old guys. Handsome Siblings.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say anything more. It will change your life. 42 episodes of Handsome Siblings. Okay. They're Kung Fu masters. They express two parts of who we are, the wild part of us and the testosterone, cool, calm, and collected part of us. They're like the mix of the estrogen and the testosterone. You get to see them. They're both masters. They're amazing role models for you. And I watch it, and I walk around feeling like a kung fu master. And then, of course, they're all doing the energy work that I was just saying. I do the energy work as well. They just magnify it, so they fly, you know, and they do kung fu like you can't imagine, and twirl in the air and all these things. It's amazing, but it's great role models for you to see men reacting to all the monkey people. This particular one, but a lot of Chinese movies, they try to educate the people who are like monkeys to see what does a human look like, you know, a divine human, someone who has a pituitary gland that's open, someone has blood flow to the front part of the brain and not to the back part of the brain in a fight or flight. So in dangerous situations, they're calm and they're cool, they're rational, they're logical. People say things, they go, well, let's not be too hasty. Let's consider the details, objectively look at this situation. They don't react. They don't react. And the other one, he just expresses whatever he says, and then but he learns from it. He learns from it. He's growing. Anyway, I think it's a very funny thing. And it's subtitles, so you have to get the subtitles to it. It's Chinese. It's magnificent.
Okay. Wow.
We'll look into that. Well, John, thank you so much for expressing and having that desire to give us so much wisdom, like unlimited amounts of wisdom. So, you know, we have to acknowledge you for that.
Appreciate it. I know we've gone over time. Thank you so much. It's been my pleasure as much as it's your pleasure. Thank you.
Yes, John. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your time. We know you're going to keep spreading that light onto the world, and we'll do our best to share your message and get it out to the people that need to hear it. And
continue the path that you've told us to continue towards. Hopefully we can achieve that.
Thank you,
Thank you, brother.
Okay.
Take care.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Just finish the recording.